Chapter 969. Li Longji thought hard about it, but he still couldn't figure out what Zhang Xiaobao was talking about. Looking at Zhang Xiaobao's smile, he was certain that the so-called confusion was definitely not simple. Gao Lishur was also puzzled. Xiaobao, stop smiling. It's scary. Tell me, how confused are you? When Zhang Xiaobao thought about the methods he would use, he couldn't help but laugh. Hearing his godfather's question, he vaguely replied, "It's just that it's sometimes strong and sometimes weak, making people feel nervous and at ease. It's the same idea as harassing the enemy at night, but it's more fun to use." Li Longji still couldn't figure out what Zhang Xiaobao was going to do. Zhang Xiaobao continued, "Let me give you an example. If an official commits a crime, normally speaking, he should be convicted. However, I won't directly convict him. I need to find evidence and lock him up first. Through a channel, news from the outside world will be passed to him from time to time. One moment, it will be said that the emperor is angry, making him worry. The next moment, it will be said that the emperor is happy, making him feel relieved. The next moment, it will be said that the evidence is enough to behead him, making him feel fearful. The next moment, it will be said that the evidence isn't complete, making him feel hopeful. After a year and a half, he will realize that he is aging very quickly. The psychological torture is the most unbearable. I plan to do this to Duoshi." After hearing this, Li Longji couldn't help but swallow a few mouthfuls of saliva. He was thankful that the two experts had come to Great Tang and not the surrounding countries. Ruthless, this method was too ruthless. Xiao Bao wasn't even 20 years old yet, so how could he be nurtured to such an extent? How powerful were the expert's abilities? Gao Lishur's reaction was slightly better. This was because he had learned many methods of interrogation from his godson and daughter-in-law. There was a lot of that, psychology, such as using strong light, or locking someone in a dark place, or using soft objects in a house to prevent them from knocking themselves to death. These methods cause more harm to the person than physical harm. If they were used with torture tools, the effect would be very obvious. That's what it means, right? I don't care. As long as it can reduce the number of casualties when the army goes over, it's fine to do more, right? Zhang Xiaobao said some comforting words. Li Longji nodded. That's right. When we return to the capital, Xiaobao, once you've confirmed your position as the champion, you should head to the Turkic Khaganate. It just so happens that the weather is at its coldest right now. You must take good care of yourself. If anything were to happen to you, my great Tang wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Don't worry, Your Majesty. I'm not risking my life. Besides, I still have to take care of Xiaobei and the others. While taking care of them, I'm also taking care of myself. Zhang Xiaobao replied. Xiaobao, can we still eat the small garlic growing on the mountain now? We are hungry again. It would be even better if we had some wild vegetable soup. After Li Longji asked about Zhang Xiaobao's motive, he realized that he was hungry again. This startling action was very taxing on his body. I'll make it. Your Majesty, the wild vegetable soup you mentioned is cat's ear soup, right? It'll be ready in a moment. What else could Zhang Xiaobao say? He had to break up the stuffing so that the Li siblings could have a taste. This would depend on one's skills. The fried box couldn't be cooked, and it couldn't be too brittle. It had to be soft after being fried. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao leave, Li Longji said happily to Gao Lishur, the palace doesn't have the ingredients to make it now. Only the Zhang family and Wang family can do it. Even their restaurants might not have a small garlic. In the future, when Xiaobao is far away, where can we find food to eat? Gao Lishur agreed. Indeed, when it came to food and lodging, the best place in Great Tang was definitely between the clouds and the water. Even the Jade Sea and Silver Sand were slightly inferior. However, even better than Between the Clouds and the Water was the Zhuangzi of the Zhang family and Wang family. The only place better than Zhuangzi could only be the main residence. Xiao Bao's greatest hobby seemed to be cooking. He was truly someone who never got tired of eating. He would always think of ways to prepare ingredients for the 4 seasons so that he could eat them whenever he wanted. Licking his lips, Gao Lisher said, "Your Majesty, since Xiao Bao went to the Turkic Khaganate, let's look for Zhang Zhong. I believe that Xiao Bao won't let Zhang Zhong suffer when it comes to food. We won't look for Zhang Zhong. If we look for you, Xiao Bao won't suffer. Back then, when we wanted to eat something, we had to rely on you. We believe that the items in your residence aren't inferior to ours. How can the tea you drink be the same as the ones offered to us?" Li Longji directly targeted Gao Lisher. "It's the same. You've taken plenty of things from this subject. Xinyang Maojian and West Lake Longjing tea, you didn't drink the ones offered to you as a tribute. Aren't the subordinates afraid that if you get too used to it, they won't be able to answer to you?" Facing Li Longji's questioning, Gao Lisher felt somewhat wronged. However, he still had a trace of righteousness. Was it wrong for his godson to take care of him? We're not an unreasonable person. Let's not talk about this anymore. Go and get someone to mix some cucumber and cold dishes. The other chefs will definitely be able to make it. We'll drink a cup later. Li Longji instructed. He decided not to let himself suffer. It wasn't easy for him to come out and play, and he didn't know if he would be able to find another place to go next year. If he really wanted to go out, he would have to go to the place where Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were staying. Otherwise, the officials wouldn't allow it. If it weren't for Xiao Bao and the others, he wouldn't have been able to come out. The officials were too infuriating. Could it be that they wouldn't be worried just because he was with Xiao Bao and wouldn't affect national affairs? Couldn't they go out by themselves? When Li Longji ate the box and drank the wild vegetable soup, the other people in the group also followed and enjoyed. Zhang Xiaobao made a very big pot of soup. If they couldn't finish it, they would have to share it with others. The people who felt the happiest were not the bodyguards, palace maids, or eunuchs. This was because they usually served the emperor. If the emperor couldn't finish eating, they would eat it. It had nothing to do with wastage. The main thing was that the food was better than their own food, especially the food made by Zhang Xiaobao. They were very grateful to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao would always make a portion for them to eat. After all, some of them couldn't eat on time. There was no official who could be like Zhang Xiaobao and eat with the emperor and still think about the servants. The palace maids and eunuchs thought this, so they would always pass on the news in the palace. They didn't ask for much. Sometimes, they would repay the kindness of a meal with their lives. What they ate was not the meal, but the respect of Zhang Xiaobao. They didn't think that there was anything wrong with blocking other officials when they were looking for trouble with the Zhang family and Wang family. There was nothing wrong with saying bad things about those officials. They were used to it. When they thanked someone, they would also return the favor. The ones who truly felt blessed were Fengqiao Masao and the others. They were the ones who stirred up trouble and angered Zhang Xiaobao. Even if they failed at that time, they were still the smartest people that Japan could send. The people in Japan understood that it wasn't that they didn't work hard. It was that Zhang Xiaobao was too difficult to deal with. Zhang Xiaobao's strength was that when he didn't care, he was very peaceful. Once he paid attention to something, the troublemaker would definitely not be able to escape. No matter what tricks you used, you wouldn't be able to compete with Zhang Xiaobao. Thus, Fengqiao Masao once again took on the responsibility of renting a ship. Other than him, there were also Yamamoto and Yamanji. They were the two people who played with the silver ore and the agricultural byproducts. They were the ones who completed the handover. After being schemed against many times, the three of them became more experienced. They tried their best to keep a low profile and not cross Zhang Xiaobao's bottom line. Since they couldn't face him directly, they could only walk around the edges. Master Zhang, please eat. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to you that we were able to eat such delicious food, Fengxiao Masao said to the manager of the Ministry of Works in front of him. This manager was Zhang Tianyu. He was a talent who was selected from the competition. Now, he was in charge of many things in the Ministry of Works. He and some other top talents learned physics and chemistry under Wang Wan's intermittent teaching until Wang Wan's junior high school level. Yes, junior high school. Graduating from junior high school was not enough to complete 12 years of compulsory education. This was because they didn't learn about the acceleration of free fall. They only completed 9 years of compulsory education. But this level was already enough to make them worship Wang Wan. It was the same for those who studied mathematics. They hadn't come into contact with calculus and linear algebra, but they were shocked by Wang Wan's talent. When Wang Wan told them that what they were learning now was only a part of the foundation and that it was still too shallow. Even she didn't learn much, they could only sigh at how vast her knowledge was. Just like what Xiao Hai had asked at that time, when one learned mathematics to a certain extent, they could be said to be omnipotent. Xiao Hai's current goal was to be able to calculate the trajectory of a cannonball one day. He didn't dare to think about anything more than that. It seemed that mathematics shouldn't exist in this world. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan both knew that it was nothing. For real prime numbers, it was just the foundation. Just like how Zhang Xiaobao never dared to say that he was the best in the financial world, Wang Wan also felt that she was still too young. There was the solar system outside Earth, and there was the Milky Way outside the solar system. There was also. The more you learned, the more you would discover your own ignorance. Therefore, Zhang Tianyu was very humble, or rather, he had an inferiority complex. He wasn't as arrogant as when he first selected me. Just like how students like Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could tell who was a new student and who was a senior in a famous university just by looking at their temperament. Those who had just entered the university would walk with their head held high, afraid that others wouldn't know what they were capable of. If you saw someone with a deep and humble face, you would know that they were about to graduate. They were afraid that others would ask them what they had learned. Therefore, after hearing Fengxiao Shouji's praise, Zhang Tianyu became very nervous. He said, "I'm also lucky. To be honest, I didn't accompany you to eat Zhang Xiaobao's soup because I didn't complete the task. I failed you. Zhang San, don't be so humble. You're just like this." Fengxiao Shouji gave him a thumbs up. Sigh. Zhang Tianyu knew what Fengxiao Shouji was talking about. He made the seal himself using rubber. Based on the Japanese technology, it was indeed impressive. The Japanese might not even know how to make rubber seals. However, he knew. Wang Wan had told him that other than rubber seals, there were also metal extended seals, water seals, oil seals, inert gas seals, etc. She asked him to study it. After hearing so many methods, how could he still be proud? He didn't know how high the sky was until he was above the clouds, and he didn't know how deep the ground was until he dug into the cellar. Zhang San, this steam engine doesn't use coal. Can we use firewood? Fengxiao Shouji didn't know what Zhang Tianyu was thinking. He had just seen the steam engine on the ship, and he couldn't wait to ask. Well, it's a long story. Zhang Tianyu didn't forget what he had told him before he came here. So, as a technician, he knew how to speak. Fengxiao Shouji immediately took out a small paper bag from his sleeve and pushed it in front of Zhang Tianyu. Zhang San, thank you for your hard work. Yamamoto and Yamamoto lowered their heads and cursed in their hearts. Can't you make it short? Zhang Tianyu didn't care about that. He took the paper bag and opened it slowly. I need to say something about the heating efficiency of the boiler and the pressure it can withstand in a short period of time. The paper bag was opened, and it was filled with notes worth 100 strings of coins. Feng Yu pinched the notes and estimated the amount. There were about 100 notes, which was equivalent to 10,000 strings of coins. Zhang Tianyu nodded to Wei Wei. 10,000 strings of coins could be used to make dozens of accessories. He could still keep 5% of the money, which was 500 strings of coins. Zhang Xiaobao had said earlier that he could use the money to buy things for his own research. Young Master Xiaobao, you are really smart. Zhang Tianyu was impressed. He had really bribed him. Zhang-san, please continue. Feng Chao Shoji's heart was bleeding. Money was not easy to earn. Because of Watanabe Jichiro's scheme against the Hunan province officials, Tang dynasty had imposed a 200% tariff on Japanese exports to Tang dynasty. At the same time, Tang dynasty had also lowered the prices. According to the original price, every time they sold something worth 1 string of coins, they would lose 4 strings of coins. The people in Tang dynasty were living frugally and couldn't bear to waste a single coin. But Feng Yu had to give the money away. What were the Japanese researchers doing? It was just the first generation of steam engines, and they had not made it yet. Zhang Tianyu did not care about what Feng Chao Shoji was thinking. He had gotten the money, and he had to reveal some secrets. Actually, it's very simple. Wood is not good. Because at the critical moment, it is not burning enough, and the power of the steam engine cannot be increased by much. So how can this problem be solved? When coal is not used, it can still maintain a certain speed and efficiency. This is related to the supply of heat per unit of time. At the same time, it is also related to the heating area of the water during the steam generation process. What do you think? Feng Chao Shoji nodded. Yamamoto and Yamamoto beside him were writing down what Zhang Tianyu said. However, this problem is not unsolvable. Whether it is coal or firewood, as long as they can provide heat, it will definitely work. If there is a difference, it is that when coal is burned, the heat produced per unit of time is continuous, but firewood is unable to do so. One is the problem of the flow of oxygen, and the other is the problem of the energy carried by the body. To give a simple example, if you spray some water at the place where the coal is burning, the fire will be stronger. If you spray water at the firewood, it will be over. Unless there is enough firewood and it is burning at the same time, right? Zhang Tianyu was not lying this time. This was the case in theory, but it would be difficult to make the corresponding changes according to the theory. He did not understand other aspects. For example, when a rocket was launched, no matter what fuel was used, the final goal was the efficiency of the unit of energy released per unit of time. Even if you used other fuels to provide oxygen when burning, the basic principle would not change. What would change would be the supporting technology, including nuclear power. This oxygen was not referring to oxygen, but the supporting conditions for combustion. Some things needed an anaerobic environment to release energy. It was very simple, but Feng Chao Shoji was stunned. It was too professional. He said, "Zhang-san, can you go to Japan and settle down there? My family is under the protection of the Ministry of Works," Zhang Tianyu said. When he said this, Zhang Tianyu was already full of admiration for Zhang Xiaobao. This was because when Zhang Xiaobao told him about this, he had even warned him about the questions he might ask. "Little young master, is there anything you can't predict? Continue to tempt me, I still have something to say." Feng Chao Shoji did not know how much research Zhang Xiaobao had in psychology. As expected, he followed Zhang Tianyou's idea and said, "Zhang-san, a good man does not have to worry about not having a wife. There are countless beautiful and considerate women in Japan, as long as, I know. If I go there, can you promise not to send me back if Tang Dynasty asks for me from Japan?" Zhang Tianyou followed the script. This Zhang-san is so important in Tang Dynasty. Fengxiao Shoji did not dare to guarantee. Humph. Zhang Tianyou snorted. Fengxiao, you should ask the important people. I won't waste any more time. After saying this, Zhang Tianyou stood up and left angrily. This, sigh. Fengxiao Shoji saw Zhang Tianyou leaving but could not stop him. He sighed regretfully. The 10,000 strings of coins were taken away by Zhang Tianyou, leaving only the steamed buns and soup on the table. This meal was too extravagant. After Zhang Tianyou left, he did not go back to his resting place. Instead, he went to find Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was also drinking soup and cooking. After being smothered by the oil, he did not want to eat anything else. He made himself a bowl of ginger soup, the kind without sugar. He also cooked some prawns and ate them while peeling them. Little young master, little young master. When Zhang Tianyou found Zhang Xiaobao had already eaten 2 prawns. "Did you earn money?" Zhang Xiaobao asked as he passed a prawn to Zhang Tianyou. "Yes. Do you have steamed buns?" "I have been thinking about things and did not have time to eat." Zhang Tianyou took the prawn and threw the shell into his mouth. He asked as he chewed and looked around. "I don't have any." "Go to the kitchen. There is still a small box of garlic in the kitchen. Dip it in the chili sauce and eat more. Don't forget to arrange for others to interact with the Japanese so that they will not give up hope." Zhang Xiaobao pointed at the things on the table and said to Zhang Tianyou. Zhang Tianyou nodded. "I knew that little young master would leave something good. He gave me 10,000 strings of coins." "Little young master, you eat your food." "I know. I will send someone over later." Zhang Tianyou happily went straight to the kitchen and left the money. Zhang Xiaobao did not touch the money as he found it dirty. He peeled another prawn and said to himself with a smile, "The good days are yet to come." "What good days?" Wang Wan came over with a fruit plate and heard Zhang Xiaobao's words. She put the fruit on the table and asked. "The good days of the Japanese. Before the fleet arrives in Geely, they will definitely get what they want. 10,000 strings of coins. You put it away first. When the time comes, you can distribute it to others. If it is too little, the Japanese will not be happy. Why take money so seriously?" Zhang Xiaobao raised his chin and motioned to Wang Wan to take the money. Wang Wan took the money and counted it quickly. "Can I say that it is easy for you to talk and that a full man does not know the hunger of a hungry man?" Chapter 970. The ship continued to sail on the Yellow River. The days of suffering for the Japanese had begun. Fengxiao Masato and the others didn't know that even if they didn't bribe him, Zhang Xiaobao would think of a way to let them understand the technology of the first-generation steam engine. What made them happy was that the technicians from the Ministry of Works were on the same ship as them. Furthermore, no one was watching over the technicians from the Ministry of Works, so they could easily come into contact with them. "When will we have so many technicians in Japan? If we can bring all of them back to Japan, we won't be suppressed by Great Tang." After sending off another person from the Ministry of Works, Fengxiao Masato wrote down the technology that the other party mentioned. He was so tired that he shook his writing arm and said to Yamamoto and Yamanji. Yamamoto's gaze was still on the door of the cabin. From there, he had just spent 3,000 strings of cash. He calculated in his heart. 3 days. In 3 days, he had spent a total of 50,000 strings of cash. There was still more than half of the technology that he hadn't grasped, so he had to continue spending. Yamamoto was also under great pressure. He had to bring the technology back. On the sea, speed was life. Those who hadn't seen how fast a steam engine ship was would never understand how powerful it was. Once the battle started, the steam engine ships could easily circle to the upwind side. Even if they didn't have cannons, they could still shoot a wave of flaming arrows with the wind. A ship without a steam engine couldn't run away, couldn't catch up, and had nowhere to hide. If they didn't work hard to develop the technology, when Great Tang attacked, they wouldn't even have the ability to defend themselves. Great Tang won't let us go. We have to learn from Great Tang and build our own industrial system. Before we left the capital, didn't the Great Tang Emperor say that we can exchange labor for points? He wants to send 200,000 people over from Japan. Yamamoto thought about the exchange of labor for technology and felt that he should make a decision to send people over to Great Tang. Yamamoto and Fengxiao looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with worry. Yamamoto sighed, "Sigh. This probably has something to do with Zhang Xiaobao. Could it be a trap? Even if it's a trap, we have to jump into it. Even if all 200,000 people die in Great Tang, as long as we can exchange for the technology, they will still be proud." The Great Tang of the past wasn't like this. Fengxiao wasn't stupid. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao was scheming, but he couldn't figure out what Zhang Xiaobao, who could mobilize the power of a country, was thinking. Yamamoto also recalled what Windy Bridge had said. In the past, the Great Tang was very easy to talk to. If one came over to give a small gift, one would receive a generous reward. If one said a few nice words, one could even receive a large reward. But it was useless. Japan. They had set up a technical college and spent a lot of money to get in. But they could not learn anything. Even the most basic technologies were locked up. Lilongji could not even reward the craftsmen to Japan. All the changes were because of the Zhang and Wang families. The more Yamamoto thought about it, the angrier he got. He suddenly said, "Why don't we think of a way to sink the ship?" Sho. Fengxiao Shoji put his index finger in front of his mouth. Yamamoto had already covered his mouth. "Do you want to die?" Fengxiao Shoji asked in a low voice. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and Lilongji were on this ship. How could he not be on guard against them? Yamamoto waved his hand, indicating for Yamamoto to let go. After Yamamoto let go of his mouth, he lowered his head and sighed. Compared to the various negative statuses of the 3 Japanese people, Lilongji's cabin was a lively atmosphere. Li Jun and Pan were thinking that they had a father. After this father gave them so many things, they felt that he was a good person like their mother. He was the kind of person that they could tell stories to. Thus, Lilongji began to listen to his daughter tell the same story over and over again. Every time he heard it, he would praise her and make Pan more energetic. Accompanied by the music, Pan danced again. From time to time, she would stop and look at Lilongji. She would continue dancing after Lilongji praised her. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan accompanied her. Occasionally, they would listen to the news from the people who were monitoring Fengxiao Shoji. Wang Wan had just received the latest information. Looking at the lively scene in front of her, she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "I thought of a poem." "What poem?" Zhang Xiaobao asked subconsciously. "The curvature of the postnatal confinement shines on the 9 provinces," Wang Wan only said one sentence. Zhang Xiaobao knew what she was going to say. "I also thought of a poem. Waning Orchid sends guests off in Xianyang Way." Wang Wan rolled her eyes and nodded. She knew what Zhang Xiaobao meant. The next sentence of Waning Orchid sends guests off in Xianyang Wei was if the heavens have feelings, the heavens will also grow old. However, Zhang Xiaobao was definitely not referring to this poem. He was referring to another poem, Should the Remaining Brave Chase After the Cornered Enemy. I'm not saying that I pity the Japanese. I just feel that the three of them are really patriotic. I'm lamenting about the vicissitudes of life. It's not easy for everyone. I want to make it easy for them. I want to find them and tell them that I'll teach them all the techniques. I'm afraid that they won't accept it and suspect that there's something fishy going on. Humans are like this. Let them work hard to bribe. Only then will they believe that it's true. Zhang Xiaobao expressed that he was helpless. He didn't want to waste too much time with Fengqiao Shouji. However, they didn't want to cooperate, so he could only slowly grind them down. Wang Wan changed the topic. Where's Xiaobei? I saw them wandering around the door just now. Ask them. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand and signaled for someone guarding the door to come over and ask. This person was really clear. Xiaobei and the others went outside to the deck and said that they wanted to feel the wind on the river to see if it was tough. They wanted people to wear skewers and eat barbecue. There was only one opening left around the barbecue. The other three sides were covered with cloth curtains. They were afraid that the wind would blow the smoke in all directions. They were probably already eating by now. Look, they learned it all from you. They say one thing and do another. How can they feel the wind when they're surrounded by three curtains? Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. Wisdom, this is called wisdom. Moreover, they didn't learn it from me. They learned it from you. You know how to attack a city and weaken the enemy's morale. Surround three sides and lack one. Otherwise, the losses will be great. It's easy to have the effect of a desperate army winning the battle. Zhang Xiaobao argued irrationally. Who said that? I can surround them completely and not attack. I can surround them from all sides. Wang Wan argued. Then I won't commit suicide. I'll cross over. Are you scared? I'll make it so that you can't sleep well. You'll always dream of me killing my way back and making you scream for help in the middle of the night. Zhang Xiaobao chuckled. Help! Help! Someone has fallen into the water. Just as Xiaobao's voice fell, a cry for help could be heard from outside. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao got up and ran outside. They were afraid that their younger brother and sister would fall in. The Yellow River was very cold. What if they caught a cold? Crow's beak. Wang Wan even complained to Zhang Xiaobao. If it's really that effective, then I'll call for the entire world to be unified and put under Great Tang. Zhang Xiaobao had already rushed to where his younger brother and sister were barbecuing. Seeing that Xiaobei was gone, he immediately stood at the side of the boat and looked down. Beside him was Fengqiao Masayoshi, who felt aggrieved in the cabin and came out to call for help. This made Zhang Xiaobao instantly think that the three of them were the ones who pushed Xiaobei down. Fengqiao Masayoshi didn't care about the people around him and didn't know that Zhang Xiaobao suspected them. Just now, when he came out for a stroll, he smelled the fragrance of barbecuing and looked at the scenery on both sides of the Yellow River. He planned to wait for Xiaobei and the others to finish barbecuing and ask for 2 skewers to eat. He believed that Xiaobei wouldn't refuse. In the end, he saw a woman washing clothes on the shore not far away. She was hitting her clothes with a stick. Beside her, a 3 or 4-year-old child wanted to reach for something in the water and fell in. Hence, he anxiously shouted for help. At this moment, his thoughts were all on Xiaobei. He didn't care about the people on the other boats who kept jumping down. This was because after he shouted that someone had fallen into the water, Xiao Bei suddenly rushed out of the water. He looked around and then jumped down. He did a series of actions in the air and took off his half-cotton clothes, leaving only his undershirt on. Fengxiao Masayoshi had to admit that he was dumbfounded at that moment. He was afraid. If something happened to Xiao Bei and he shouted for help, wouldn't Zhang Xiaobao skin him alive? Hence, he stared at the water and prayed that someone would save Xiao Bei. But when he saw what happened, he was stunned. Xiao Bei, who had jumped into the water, shuttled through the waves of the Yellow River at an astonishing speed. It went straight for the child who had fallen into the water. As the child floated up and down, he could only see a small black dot with hair. Fengxiao Masayoshi watched without blinking. He saw Xiao Bei's amazing swimming ability and saw the people who had jumped down from the boats either gather or disperse. He saw the life-saving equipment falling down like rain. For a moment, he felt like he was in a dream. The woman washing clothes on the shore also jumped down anxiously. However, she didn't know how to swim. As soon as she jumped down, she floated up and down with the waves. Immediately, a few people took the initiative to swim over to rescue the child. Zhang Xiaobao also came over to take a look. He saw his sister stop moving for a moment. Then, her head dived down and disappeared. The people who had jumped down from the boat in front of them and swam closer were doing the same thing. Fengxiao Masayoshi felt that time was passing very slowly. The sky seemed to have darkened. Zhang Xiaobao also took a few deep breaths. Suddenly, Fengxiao Masayoshi felt that the sky was bright. The sun had risen. He saw the child who had fallen into the water earlier being held up like the moon surrounded by stars. At the bottom was Xiao Bei. While the people on the boat cheered, Xiao Bei had already placed the child on the platform that everyone had raised with their arms and started performing first aid. Fengxiao Masayoshi had learned this first aid movement in the Four Seas Academy, but he had never seen anyone perform it in such a situation. After a short while, the child reacted. First, he coughed. Then, he looked around blankly. Then, he started crying. This caused another round of cheers on the boat and on the shore. The woman was also brought over by someone. They found life-saving equipment and put her on. Then, they approached the boat and used a rope to hoist her onto the boat. At this time, they were already very far away from the place where the accident had happened. The water was still flowing, and the boat was still moving. However, many people's hearts were frozen in that short period of time. When Xiao Bei came up, Zhang Xiaobao didn't need to go over. Someone wrapped Xiao Bei up with clothes. Someone also brought over bowls of ginger soup and distributed it to the people who had jumped down. It was the same on the other boats. Fengxiao Masayoshi secretly wiped away the cold sweat and excited sweat on his forehead. He stared fixedly at the busy scenes on the boats and the blooming smile on Xiao Bei's face. However, there were huge waves in his heart. He finally experienced the power of the Zhang family and the Wang family. From the moment the child fell into the water to the successful rescue, it only took a short while. However, what was reflected was the speed of the Zhang family and the Wang family's emergency response speed. Everyone was on the boat, and the ginger soup was ready. Tacit understanding, efficiency, and division of labor were so clear. They were busy but not chaotic, fast but not impatient. Zhang Xiaobao walked in front of his sister and touched her dripping hair. "Our great hero, quickly change your clothes." Xiao Bei was still in a state of excitement. He shook his head and said, "It's nothing. My cotton robe was washed away, and the goldfish bag and silverfish bag on it are gone. It's worth it. Children can't swim well. Why didn't they obediently stay by the river? Why did they go to the middle of the river? They were washed to the middle of the river. You can't do that. If you don't change your clothes, you'll catch a cold and get an injection. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and threatened. When Xiao Bei heard about the injection, he hurriedly ran into the cabin. His legs moved a few times and disappeared without a trace. After Xiao Bei left, Fengxiao Masayoshi carefully came over and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Lord Zhang, I was the one who shouted for help just now." He came to apologize. If he didn't shout, Xiao Bei wouldn't have been the first to jump. The people on the other boats naturally saw the situation and arranged for rescue. He was grateful to Xiao Bei in his heart. He was good at swimming. Not only did he not get into trouble, but he was also the first to save someone. Zhang Xiaobao didn't understand what he was thinking. What did he mean? Why did you specifically tell me when you shouted? Do you want me to reward you? I plan to reward you with the technology of the first-generation steam engine. How can you be at ease with it? Got it. Zhang Xiaobao could only reply casually. If I didn't shout, Inspector Zhang wouldn't have jumped, Fengxiao Masayoshi explained. Oh. Zhang Xiaobao understood and comforted him. Just jump. Other than the water being cold, there's no other problem. Don't take it to heart. I still have to thank you for shouting. If you were any later, the child might not have been saved. I'll treat you to dinner tonight. Fengxiao Masayoshi didn't expect this outcome. He thought to himself, Zhang Xiaobao, you're really not worried. The Yellow River in early winter. Aren't you afraid that your sister won't be able to come up? Even though he thought this, he said something else. Thank you, Lord Zhang. Treat me to dinner. There's no need. I was also shocked just now. I'll go back to the cabin to rest first. He didn't dare to eat at the same table as Zhang Xiaobao. He was afraid that he would be schemed against. Anything could happen when he was with Zhang Xiaobao. All right. Men, get a doctor to take a look at Fengxiao. Zhang Xiaobao made the arrangements out of courtesy. He turned to the remaining 8 siblings and said, "Thank goodness you guys didn't jump. I wanted to jump, but I didn't dare to. If I jumped, I might freeze and cramp. I would have to wait for someone to save me," Little Yuan said honestly. It's rumored that Xiao Bei is good at swimming. Today, I've seen it for myself. Look at the Jin Wu guards that I brought with me. They are said to be the best at swimming. Look at your family's protection team. They really can't compare. Li Longji's voice sounded. He was in the cabin just now and heard someone shouting that someone had fallen into the water. He also came out to take a look. He walked slower than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, but he also saw the scene of Xiao Bei rushing towards the child who had fallen into the water. Then, he saw the cooperation between Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family's guards. He sighed in his heart. Zhang Xiaobao had to be humble. He said, "Your Majesty's guards are used to protect your Majesty. They won't be separated. Furthermore, all my guards are good at swimming. Not all of them jumped just now. Those who felt that they couldn't swim well would be a burden if they jumped. I don't intend to rely on the protection of the Jin Wu guards. It's fine as long as my guard of honor is set up properly." Xiao Bao, do you know why the child fell into the water? Li Longji didn't care about the face of the guards at all and said on the spot. The Jin Wu guards lowered their heads and didn't say anything. Firstly, they didn't dare to refute the emperor's words. Secondly, they knew that they were the ones who had jumped down just now. None of them would be able to come up. Li Longji asked for the reason. There was no need for Zhang Xiaobao to send someone to ask. The mother and son who had been rescued had already changed their clothes and came over to kowtow. At first, the woman didn't know what the fleet was for. Because it was rented to Japan and Shinlua, there was no flag on the ship. While the woman was grateful, she was also worried that she wouldn't be able to go home in time. The ship had already gone far away. She was afraid that the ship would have to wait for a place with a dock before it could dock for her. If that happened, the man at home would definitely be anxious when he came back. When she learned from the maid who had changed her clothes that this ship was not only the fleet of the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families in Sanshui County, but also the emperor, the woman was completely relieved. No matter how ignorant she was, she knew that there was no more reassuring combination in the Tang Empire than the current team. According to the reliable way that the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families did things, the men at home should be able to get very accurate information. She brought her son and left with the fleet. Whenever the emperor wanted to let her go, she would go down. Of course, she still had to kowtow to thank him. This kowtow had to be kowtowed. Not to mention saving her life, even if she didn't save him, she still had to kowtow when she saw the emperor. Her son was really lucky. Even when he fell into the water, he could still meet a heaven-like benefactor to save him. Thus, the woman brought her son over. The child had already forgotten the danger just now. He was holding a piece of cake in his hand and eating it with all his might. He felt that it was very delicious. Under his red eyes, there was a small mouth covered in cake crumbs. From time to time, he would stick out his tongue and lick it. When the mother and son arrived in front of Li Longji, the woman's legs had already begun to tremble. This was the emperor. After taking another step, she could no longer control her legs. With a plop, she knelt down and kowtowed with all her might, but she couldn't say a word. Without Li Longji's instructions, the woman had just kowtowed a few times when someone came over to stop her. The woman took 2 deep breaths and found that her son was still standing there eating. She hurriedly scolded, "Li Zi, foodie, why haven't you kneeled down to His Majesty yet? Have you not been beaten enough?" As she shouted, she stretched out her hand to get her son to kneel. Li Longji impatiently said, all right, I don't lack people who want to kneel. Your son was lucky to have encountered Xiaobao's team. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to retrieve his corpse. I ask you, why did your son fall into the water?" The woman was frightened by Li Longji's words. Her face instantly became deathly pale. Only when Li Longji asked for the reason did she regain her composure. She looked at the child, then looked at the emperor, and said in a low voice, This woman was washing clothes. Lotzi fell down while playing. This child really doesn't let people have peace of mind. Why did you bring the child to wash the clothes? If we leave the children in the school, there will be someone to take care of them. Li Longji first thought of education and suspected that the school there was not good enough. Your Majesty, not, enroll age, enroll at school, 5 years old, otherwise, children, make trouble, the teacher cannot teach lessons. The woman explained and looked back at her son. Her face was full of helplessness. Li Longji nodded his head and turned his head to look at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao had been waiting for a long time. He knew that Li Longji would look at him. After looking at Li Longji's eyes, he spoke first, Your Majesty, do you have something to ask this subject? Chapter 971. Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao and thought to himself, since you know that I'm going to ask you, how can you not know what I'm going to ask? Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao was playing dumb, Li Longji said to the woman, Tell Xiaobao what I just said. The woman knew who Xiaobao was. That Zhang Xiaobao who had given birth to a child that looked like Zhang Xiaobao, and the one beside him was naturally little fairy Cuckoo. This time, the woman wasn't nervous anymore. She looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and whispered, Good, very good. They're a pair. How did these children grow up? Look at them. Zhang Xiaobao could tell what the woman was trying to say from the movement of her lips. He quickly interrupted, I heard it just now. The villages are scattered, and transportation is inconvenient. Many of the villages have a small population. I really don't have any good ideas. Money doesn't help. After saying this to Li Longji, Zhang Xiaobao turned to the woman and said, Sister-in-law, I'll get someone to send you back in a moment. I'll think of a way to solve the problem of the children's safety. This matter is too important, and it can't be taken lightly. The woman only understood the first part of Zhang Xiaobao's words. She didn't understand the second part, so she thanked him again and again. She led her son, who was still eating, back to the cabin. She didn't need to return the clothes she was wearing. She was lucky because her son was wearing Li Jun's clothes. They were around the same age, and they fit quite well. After the woman left, Li Longji was worried. He asked Zhang Xiaobao, you really can't think of an idea? I've never seen you in such a difficult position before. Zhang Xiaobao patted his head in distress and looked at Wang Wan. Wang Wan also frowned. To Li Longji, this was a small matter, but to her and Zhang Xiaobao, it was a huge matter. The problem of the children's safety and guidance seemed small, but it was thousands of times more difficult than the questions in the imperial examinations. It would affect a country's system and involve many aspects, which would give rise to even more difficulties and problems. Li Longji didn't think that it would be difficult. Spending money was like having merchants pay for schools. If the merchants couldn't do it, he would do it himself. His bank had a lot of money. Xiaobao, you can use my money as you please. Settle this matter well and I will reward you handsomely. Zhang Xiaobao didn't reply. He cursed in his heart. Of course I can use the money from the bank as I please. Do I need you to tell me that? If I really do things well, the child's happiness will be my greatest reward. What kind of reward can you give me? Gao Lisher was also worried and asked, Xiaobao, you usually have a lot of ideas. Look, you did a good job with Operation Chaoyang. You even solved the problem of the older children. Wouldn't it be easier for the children? How is it so easy? Why didn't I notice? Zhang Xiaobao mumbled. He rubbed his temples and said, wait for me to go back and think about it with Cuckoo. After saying that, Zhang Xiaobao didn't wait for Li Longji to say anything. He pulled Wang Wan and went straight into the cabin. He didn't even care about his sister, who had just dried her hair and ran out to continue the barbecue. The two of them went into the cabin one after the other. Zhang Xiaobao leaned against the couch and said, oh my God, Li Longji is just standing there and talking. A full man doesn't know the hunger of a hungry man. When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao's complaints, she wanted to laugh but couldn't. This was because she knew what Zhang Xiaobao had to face. After thinking for a while, she asked, Xiaobao, can we have a woman in each village who is responsible for taking care of the children? She doesn't need to do anything else and is only responsible for looking after the children. What do you think? No. As soon as Wang Wan finished speaking, Zhang Xiaobao immediately objected. For example, there are 20 families in a village with 9 children. 5 of them are studying in school. Every day, they have to walk for more than 2 hours to go to school and then walk for another 2 hours to come back. Or they can just live in school. There are still 4 children left. They are still young and can't go to school. It's too far away, and they can't live in school. They can't bear not seeing their family for a long time. According to what you said, it's not a problem to find a woman to take care of the remaining 4 children during the slack season. But since it's not busy, why let her take care of the children? It's better for the mothers to take care of the children themselves. During the busy season, normal women also have to work with the children. In your village, there are 20 families, and one of them is Idyll. Even if there is only one child, the other 3 mothers have to do her work. Each of them has to do 1/3 more work. Do you think it's possible? Wang Wan shook her head. Impossible. 1/3 is too much. How can we divide the work equally among the villagers? Why should we? That's called eating from the same big pot. Those who benefit and those who don't benefit will have to contribute, and those who don't benefit will naturally not do it. Zhang Xiaobao asked again. The 2 of them had a heated discussion about the problem of preschool children. It wasn't because of Li Longji, but because they wanted to do better. They were worried about the road conditions and transportation. Outside, Li Longji didn't plan to return to the cabin, so he barbecued with Xiao Bei and the others. Li Jun and Pan Er also looked on eagerly. Xiao Bei thought for a moment, then asked someone to bring over eggplants and lamb slices for the 2 little guys to eat. The 2 little guys were very happy. They didn't care about what they ate, as long as they played with them. Xiao Bei, what did you think of when you were saving people? Li Longji suddenly asked. Xiao Bei lowered his head and smiled. The expressions of the other 8 children were also very rich. This was because their older brother had said that the most disgusting thing was when a person did something at a critical moment, and someone insisted on asking them what they thought. For a question like this, there was a formula for the answer. One was that I didn't think of anything. The situation was very tense, and I only thought that I had to save people. My older brother had said that this person was also disgusting. Since you didn't think of anything, then what did you think of? There was also another formula, and that was. Uncle Emperor, when I heard someone cry out that they had fallen into the water, the first thing that came to my mind was that this was my Tang Empire. The person who had fallen into the water was most likely someone from my Tang Empire. Moreover, they had fallen into my Tang Empire's water. I couldn't just watch and do nothing. Secondly, the reason why I made this decision was because of you, Uncle Emperor. You are the Emperor, and I often accept your teachings. You taught me to be a caring person, a kind person. Thirdly, I thought of my grandfather. I remember that when I was very young, my grandfather. Xiao Bei. Li Longji interrupted Xiao Bei's words in a deep voice. He really couldn't bear it anymore. It was too fake. Those who could face this kind of statement calmly were all capable people. They were even more capable than him, the Emperor. Xiao Bei chuckled twice and fed Li Jun and Pan Er a mouthful of eggplant. He said, Okay, I'll tell you the truth. At that time, I first thought about where the person who had fallen into the water was. I had to see them before I could save them. After I found a shadow, I directly jumped. When I jumped, I found that the cotton robe was too much of a hindrance, so I had no choice but to take it off. Fortunately, I moved quickly and took it off in the air. Otherwise, it would have been more difficult for me to jump down. I even had time to adjust my position when I entered the water. It was so painful to hit the water directly. After entering the water, I didn't think about anything else. I just swam towards the place I just saw. The place I said I saw was not the original place. The water was still moving, so I had to calculate the position. All that was left was to swim as fast as possible. As for the movement and the frequency of the chi summoning, I have already practiced it to the point that it has almost become instinct. There's no need to think about it. When I caught the person under the water, all I thought was, don't die. That's all. Swim, swim. Li Jun opened her mouth and pointed at the grilled fish. Xiao Bei nodded, yes, it's swimming in the water. Jun is really smart. Wait for sister to pick out the bones and I'll give it to you to eat. This fish was caught by Xiao Bei. She woke the child up and taught the others to take care of it. She swam to the side of the boat and grabbed a fish that was watching but not helping. She gouged out the fish's eyes. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to catch it. She then carried the fish with the rope in her arms and boarded the boat. Li Longji was also clear about the origin of this fish. He really admired it. He had seen heroes catch fish with their bare hands in the Yellow River, but he had never seen a child catch fish with her bare hands. Seeing Xiao Bei, as a child, patiently pick out the bones in the fish and feed the meat to the younger child, Li Longji felt a sense of enjoyment in life. Thinking of children, Li Longji became worried again. He sighed again and asked Xiao Bei, how do you think we should arrange for the children who aren't in school to be protected together? Look, it was the adults who brought the children to work today, but the children fell into the water. Take the money and choose a place. When the adults work, put the children there. Set up several places like this in a county. Xiao Bei flipped the fish over as she spoke. The side that she had just eaten had already been eaten. Children were also very good eaters. But a village is very small. There are only a few children, and it's also very far from the county. If we arrange for someone to take care of the children, we'll have one less person to work. The children can't walk too far by themselves. It's troublesome. Li Longji also thought of this point and blurted it out. When Xiao Bei was feeding Li Jun and Pan again, the two children couldn't eat anymore and turned their heads away. Xiao Bei put the meat in his mouth and said, let's move together. A few villages or a dozen villages together, and choose 2 or 3 people to take care of the children. If they can't work, we'll give them money. Uncle Emperor, you have a lot of money in the bank. This year, you have 100 million strings of money. How much money does a village have? You can take out a small portion, it's enough. Li Longji didn't take Xiao Bei's words seriously. He was just saying it to vent the depression in his heart. When he heard Xiao Bei mention moving, he smiled and said, the adults work far away. It's still not enough. Why not? It's better for the adults to work far away than the children who can't go far by themselves. People who do business like to have more people. Farmers, didn't you release a lot of military horses? When people work faster, they can make up for the time lost. Military horses are not farm horses. They can be ridden. When they reach a place, they can rest for a while before working again. Uncle Emperor, horses are really important. When there are more horses, they can work faster. They can be several times more efficient than a person. Xiao Bei ate 2 pieces of fish and remembered that there were other people who hadn't eaten yet, so she sent the fish over. Xiao Hai took the fish and said, it's not several times more efficient. It's dozens of times more efficient. How much is the difference between a person's land and a cow's land? Horses plow faster than cows. I reckon that older brother and older sister will have to worry about food in the future. That's right. It's not easy to deal with more food. Li Longji agreed. Suddenly, he was stunned. He stared at Xiao Bei and asked, what did you just say? What did I say? Xiao Bei was startled. Quick, call Xiao Bao and Cuckoo over. Li Longji didn't need Xiao Bei to repeat himself. He already had an idea. He ordered people to call Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. While Li Longji and Xiao Bei were talking, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also discussing in the cabin. If there's no other way, then let's combine the villages. Children can't run back and forth, but adults can. Besides, with military horses, it's convenient to travel. Horses can be ridden. Since we can't eat from the same big pot, then let's use a centralized model and form an incentive system. It looks like we need to get more oil and use the diesel engine on farming as soon as possible. That way, there's no need to be afraid of the distance. The diesel engine is so fast. After going back and forth, it's back to efficiency. Only when people have more time can they rest, have fun, and take good care of the children. When the people sent by Li Longji arrived at the door, Zhang Xiaobao summarized the two people's thoughts. There was a knock on the door, and the person said that Her Majesty had summoned them. The two people walked out. Wang Wan said while walking, after combining the villages, the conflicts will become more prominent. Many villages are mainly based on surnames. The competition for the village chief position will be very fierce. There will also be more conflicts between small interest groups. That's the matter of the local officials. If the local officials are not capable and can't handle the affairs of the villages, then we will let Xiao Bei handle the local officials. Zhang Xiaobao delegated the responsibility. Wang Wan paused for a moment. It looks like we have to do more promotion work for Li Longji. Once we have the film and phonograph, the publicity work will be easier to do. We still have to finish the cartoon first. Xiao Bei asked a few days ago, and the standards of the current artists are too low. Just ask them to draw a simple cartoon. As for expressing too much of the style from the lines, it's not like it's a landscape painting. Don't they understand that simple is the most popular? Don't tell me they want the children to see whether the lines of the characters and scenery in the animation are bold and graceful. If they really want to express it, they can just use the actions of the characters and the environment in the animation to render it. Why bother with the lines? Just draw a 2-meter-tall bear with a fierce expression. Even if the children are stupid, they won't think that it's gentle, right? Speaking of this matter, Zhang Xiaobao started to criticize the person he had found to draw the animation. There were many artists who insisted on doing this and that. Even if they could use their brushes to pierce through 1,000 layers of paper, could it be reflected in the animation? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan talked along the way. When they arrived at the younger brother and sister's barbecue stall, Xiao Bei was roasting chives. It was not that she wanted to eat them, but she was really setting up a stall to sell them to the other people on the ship. Chives for 1 copper coin for 3 skewers was considered very cheap. Because it was already early winter, if she sold 3 skewers, she would earn 1 copper coin for 9 skewers. Next to her, Xiao Yuan was roasting squid neck. This was not for sale, so he planned to eat it himself. Of the 5 skewers, he would eat 3 skewers. He brought 2 skewers for Zhang Gang and helped Xiao Bei roast 4 skewers of garlic. When he sold them, he would earn 1 copper coin for 2 skewers. Li Longji and Gao Lishir, as well as Empress Wang and Wu Huifei, were watching from the side. Li Longji lamented to Gao Lishir. These were really Zhang Xiaobao's younger siblings. It was not a matter of money, but the way they thought about how they could earn back the money they spent by eating barbecue. It was really difficult for them to decide to spend 3 million string of cash without hesitation when they were at Hong Farm. Gao Lishir expressed his agreement. Empress Wang smiled but did not say anything. Even Wu Huifei, who did not get along with Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family, could not put her resentment on Xiao Bei and the others. This was because when Xiao Bei and the others were seriously roasting things for every copper coin, they could easily throw away the goldfish bags and silverfish bags when they were saving people and then say that it was worth it. The strong contrast made Wu Huifei blush with shame. She could not judge Xiao Bei and the others. She knew that Xiao Bei and the others had a precious candy house. The things inside were really good. It could be said that they strived for perfection, but they were also really expensive. Ordinary people could not afford them. However, it was such a candy house that when Xiao Bei and the others followed Her Majesty outside the city, they were willing to take out a large amount of candy to give the children in the capital to eat. If one said that they were stingy, that was right. They haggled over every penny. If one said that they were generous, that was also right. If one said that they were very afraid of death, there were two experts beside them whose movements could not be seen clearly. They were usually surrounded by guards. If one said that they were willing to sacrifice themselves, Xiao Bei would be the first to jump in without hesitation when he knew that someone had fallen into the water. Wu Huifei was momentarily at a loss. She muttered, Xiao Bei and the others should not be in heaven, but they definitely do not belong in hell. Where exactly are they? In the human world. Wang Wan, who was walking over, happened to hear it. She added, it has nothing to do with Maxim Gorky. Then who is it? Wu Huifei asked passively. A person who talks about the Haiyan. But I don't care, because we have the Shuiyun. The Haiyan struggle is self-defense, while the Shuiyun's fight is for the common people, Zhang Xiaobao explained. Wu Huifei knew who the Shuiyun was. It was the male eagle that the storyteller said, who dares to fly in the sky, alone guarding 1,000 miles with a soaring eagle. It was said that when one eagle soared to the sky, the other eagles retreated. Just like Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan when they were in their respective fields, no one dared to go against it. When the moon was full, the stars would dim. Li Longji did not care about the riddle. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he rubbed his hands excitedly and said, Xiaobao, Cuckoo, I just asked you two about the matter. You still haven't thought of a solution, right? Hee hee. I was eating barbecue when I suddenly thought of. I thought of this matter, so I asked Xiao Bei. Guess what Xiao Bei said? Let me give you a hint, the problem has been solved. Hee hee, hee 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 hee. Li Longji wanted to say that he had solved the problem himself. If it were any other official, he could only tacitly agree and not say anything else. But when he saw Xiao Bei working hard for every copper coin, he really could not say it. How shameless would that be? If he really dared to say it, Xiao Bei would only reply with an innocent smile and he would jump off the boat. That was because there was no place in this world for his face. It was too big. Zhang Xiaobao did not ask for the details. He first went to his sister Xiao Bei and asked, how much are you selling it for? 3 skewers of Chinese chives for 1 copper coin. If I sell 3 skewers, I'll make a profit. Is it expensive? Xiao Bei's Chinese chives were almost done roasting and she asked as she sprinkled seasonings on them. It's not expensive. You're too honest. Normally, you sell 3 skewers for 1 copper coin. It shouldn't be the fresh Chinese chives that you eat. It should be brushed with gutter oil and then roasted with Chinese chives that are about to rot. Zhang Xiaobao spoke about business. Ah. Xiao Bei's hands trembled. Then what if I get a stomachache? Aren't you going to rub sauce on the Chinese chives? You can mix the anti-diarrhea medicine into the sauce and rub it on the Chinese chives and you won't get a stomachache. Zhang Xiaobao continued to give ideas. Then if I rub flu medicine on the Chinese chives, will it be able to treat colds? Xiao Bei deduced. Wang Wan's eyes widened when she heard this. Zhang Xiaobao, you're going to teach Xiao Bei this. With your status, do you really need to do this? Zhang Xiaobao understood that Wang Wan was not talking about his current status. He smiled and said, I'm just playing with Xiao Bei. I have to let her know some of the dark methods. Only then will she be able to hold up the light. After speaking to Wang Wan, Zhang Xiaobao turned to Li Longji and said, Your Majesty, what did you want to say just now? Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Li Longji did not say anything. He was already dumbfounded. Fortunately, Zhang Xiaobao did not use his methods on Great Tang. Chapter 972. The chives are ready. Who wants more? Xiao Bei shouted. Someone immediately came in to take the chives and give Xiaobei the money. After Xiaobei gave the change, he took the chives and left with satisfaction. They were not craving for barbecue. If they wanted to eat, they would go to the kitchen and tell the chef, who would cook for them at night. They were just there to play with Xiaobei. Xiaobei didn't think too much about it. He happily accepted another roasted hairy egg deal. He took out the cooked hairy egg and skewered it on a bamboo stick to roast. This egg was not an accident during the incubation process. It was man-made and stopped from hatching. There were no germs in it, and it was specially made for the guards of the inner courtyard to eat. It was a non-medicinal supplement to strengthen the body. The 9 children all had work to do, but they were not busy. After roasting the egg, Xiaobei was not busy, so he did not have to worry about it for the time being. He turned his head to listen to his brother. Li Longji had already told Zhang Xiaobao what he had just said to Xiaobei. After Zhang Xiaobao heard it, he did not say that he and Wang Wan had also thought of it. It was not important who had thought of it, and there was no need to deliberately prove that he was smart. Xiaobao, tell me, what do you think? Li Longji asked. It's okay. Since your majesty is willing to pay, why not add another one? Zhang Xiaobao could not come up with a better idea. It was too affected by technology. Li Longji was looking forward to Zhang Xiaobao's idea. Wang Wan also wanted to hear what Zhang Xiaobao had considered. Zhang Xiaobao first helped Xiaobei flip the egg and said, each family will have 2 children and let them raise them. For every child born, the imperial court, your majesty, will take out a portion of your own money as a reward to the person who gave birth to the child. The child must be alive. The initial rule is that it can be 20 strings of coins or 30 strings of coins. Then, every child will receive a sum of money from birth until the age of 15 as child support. For example, 3 strings of coins a year is not a small amount. This money is enough to raise a child. A child can earn 3 times a year, and the discount is 250 copper coins a month. You won't even need to use up all your clothes and food. You can buy toys and storybooks for your child. Li Longji listened attentively, but more than that, he didn't understand. If the person speaking wasn't Zhang Xiaobao, he probably wouldn't have been able to hold himself back from slapping him. Isn't that stupid? If I have money to burn, why should I give money to someone else for giving birth to a child? The merchants were willing to pay for the school because they needed people with knowledge to work in the future. There was a rule that merchants who did not pay were not allowed to work with graduates of the school. Merchants had another purpose, and that was to sell their goods. As long as they were large-scale merchants, they would not fork out the money, and the people would consciously not buy their goods, forcing the merchants to fork out the money. But why would he care if the people had children? They would have children of their own and were willing to have more. After Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, Li Longji asked in doubt, Xiaobao, do I have enough money? If we really do as you say, won't there be people who don't work and just focus on giving birth to children? If those who are willing to work find this way to slack off, what will the country do? Gao Lisher also felt that it was impossible. Xiaobao, do you think there will be problems? There will be. Zhang Xiaobao nodded, there will be many problems, but there is no need to be afraid. There is a circle here. There will never be a lack of welfare, tax, production, consumption, and conflicts. It will just keep shifting, cycle by cycle. As for me, I am only in charge of medical care and education. I will not provide any help to the elderly with children. I will only increase the punishment for the children who don't want to retire. If there really comes a day when it reaches that level, it means that the social system is rotten to the core and needs to be reshuffled. Wang Wan fell into deep thought. She understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant. If there came a day when the government needed to use other means to provide help to the elderly in society, it would mean that the income of the individual was not enough to support the elderly, and it would also mean that there was a decline in morality. When the government provided help to the elderly, not only should they not praise the means used by the government, they should instead question how the government had turned society into such a state. Then they realized a problem. This government was not a machine. It was full of living people. This government did not appear out of thin air. It had gradually developed to this point under the influence of society. Everyone in society, or rather, their ancestors, were responsible for this. Then, when did it start? Wang Wan could not think of a reason. Zhang Xiaobao could not think of a reason either. He could only guarantee that he could still control it. If he really wanted to find a reason, then he would take it that people followed the laws of the earth followed the laws of the heavens followed the Tao, and the Tao followed the laws of nature. The blooming and withering of flowers, the rolling clouds, and the development of society could not escape this circle. As such, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan began to face each other in silence. Li Longji and Gao Lishir could not think of what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were thinking. They could only consider the problems in front of them and the problems that might arise. Li Longji's thoughts were very simple. He was worried that there would be a day when he would not have enough money. When Xiao Bei shouted in alarm and hurriedly sprinkled seasonings on the hairy eggs to get someone to take them, Zhang Xiaobao and the other three came back to their senses and listened to Xiao Bei apologize to the guard. "I'm sorry, I was distracted and one side of it was burnt. You eat it first, and I'll cook it for you again. It's free, and I'll cook it for you later as well. I'm sorry for wasting your time, so consider it my compensation, okay? If you don't agree, we can still discuss it again." Xiao Bei handed over a few strings of hairy eggs and sincerely said to the guard. Although the guard was part of the seedling protection team, Xiao Bei did not want to use her authority as a master to pressure him. After all, her current identity was that of a businesswoman. She had always believed that businessmen who only knew how to shirk their responsibilities and did not know how to protect the interests of their customers would not be able to do business for long. Unless the government and the businessmen protected each other, then, as her brother said, society was on the verge of a reshuffle. Of course, Xiao Bei did not know that the reshuffle that her brother was talking about did not mean that there would be a reshuffle tomorrow. Perhaps it could still persist for a few hundred years. After all, there was the suppression of force. However, when it really could not be controlled, the people who connived and promoted this situation would pay the price with their lives. No one could blame anyone. Compared to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who thought too much and tired themselves out, the life of the guard was much happier. He only needed to train hard, protect the people of the main family, and then live a happy life with the main family. He did not need to make any policies in the Tang Empire. If one had to say that he had to pay more, it would be the current situation. He held the skewer of hairy eggs that had been roasted on one side and said to Xiao Bei, "As a buyer, I have to say something." "Say something. Then say it. Just don't scold me. Being scolded is not within the scope of the compensation I promised. I can only compensate you in terms of money and attitude. This attitude does not include being scolded by you." Xiao Bei corrected her identity as a businesswoman and emphasized the extent of what she could bear. The guard thought to himself, "Even if you want me to scold you, I don't dare. Who in the Tang Empire dares to scold you?" However, he said, "When I said that I wanted to buy hairy eggs, you did not ask me what kind of hairy eggs I wanted to eat. This shows that you do not value me. Do you admit this?" "Ah. Yes, I did not ask." "Okay, then what kind of compensation do you want?" Xiao Bei wanted to explain, but the guard did not let her. If she took the initiative to explain, it would show that she was guilty and quibbling. First, you have to compensate me with a skewer of chives and then satisfy my request for the heat of the hairy eggs, the guard said. Just a skewer of chives. You are not allowed to go back on your words. Hairy eggs, what do you want? Xiao Bei was overjoyed. This person's request was too low. I like to eat hairy eggs. I want to eat hairy eggs on both sides. You have to roast the other side of the hairy eggs as well. The guard made his request seriously. Xiao Bei was stunned. She nodded and said, "Then give me the hairy eggs in your hand. I will continue to roast them. This is simple." "Thank you. I will roast another set of hairy eggs for you. This is not a compensation, but a reward. In the future, I will definitely ask others what they want first." The corner of the guard's mouth twitched slightly, but he still looked serious as he nodded. Zhang Xiaobao could see that the guard was nodding with difficulty, probably because the texture of the black hairy egg was really not that good. Xiao Bei happily turned around and continued to roast the hairy eggs. Zhang Xiaobao bowed slightly to the guard and said, "Zhang Yong, thank you." The guard called Zhang Yong by Zhang Xiaobao hurriedly returned the bow and said, "Young master, please do not be like this. This is what I should do. I am a member of the vigorous protection team, not a cavalry that is only responsible for killing." After Zhang Yong finished speaking, he went out and continued to perform his duties. Li Longji sighed with emotion again. He understood Zhang Yong's words. The vigorous protection team was more powerful than the cavalry. Not only did it protect the safety of the people being protected, but it also took care of psychological matters. Otherwise, how could the seedlings grow strong? The vigorous protection team was a laughable and childish name, but it was a group of people who made their enemies tremble. Those who could enter would be honored because of this name. After sighing with emotion, Li Longji returned to the previous topic. "Xiao Bao, will I really not run out of money?" "Not at all." Zhang Xiaobao said with certainty, "Actually, I have wanted to do this for a long time. This is called the central government stimulating consumption. But in the past, the Sinongxi Temple and the Ministry of Works could not keep up with the pace. I have endured for a long time, but it is about time now. When this policy is implemented, there will be a burst of consumption in a short period of time. Within a year, not only will your Majesty's money not decrease, it will instead increase like a geyser. That will be the time when I need to be busy. I need to promote productivity while suppressing the depreciation of the currency. Because I have decided to enter the circle that was mentioned earlier." Li Longji and Gao Lisher still did not understand. They only felt that the circle should be very large and difficult to control. Otherwise, Xiao Bao would not have made an expression that looked like he was going to commit suicide outside the Meridian Gate. Wang Wan comforted, "It's fine. At most, we can use unconventional methods. First, we will come up with a law. Whoever dares to cause trouble will be dealt with. There is no need to draw a fixed line there. The true balance is not left, right, and not in the middle. We have to act according to the situation. I am not worried. Don't we have a way to divert the domestic conflicts?" Zhang Xiaobao became relaxed again. Wang Wan took a deep breath and nodded. "Xiao Bao, in terms of calculation, I am really not as good as you. Did you think about many things during the imperial examinations? Especially when you were talking to your father?" Wang Wan recalled. At that time, Zhang Xiaobao was very happy. Then, the people from the Ministry of War came and gave the idea. Gao Junmin and the people were happy. Then, Jiang Tsin from the Sinongxi sent vermicelli. Zhang Xiaobao told the other party that he would give up his family's technology. Then, he expanded the capital and said that he would give up military horses. After that, he planned to go to the original place of the Turkic Khaganate. After a year, he would stabilize Japan and Shinloa and start to attack Duoshire. In other words, even if the preschool children incident did not happen today, Zhang Xiaobao would still push the Tang dynasty's economy to explode. Then, when it was the most difficult to control, he would send troops and shift the economic pressure in the country. When he won against Duoshire, he would have military benefits, economic benefits, and resources. Politics would also be more stable. This was the true ability and style of an international swindler. Li Longji and Gao Lishir were also aware of the series of actions Zhang Xiaobao had taken since the imperial examinations. The two confirmed once again that Zhang Xiaobao did not want to be emperor. Otherwise, he would have succeeded long ago. Li Longji looked at Xiaobei, who was working hard to finish Mao Dan, and said softly, "You guys have to work hard and learn all the skills of your brother and sister." Then, he looked at his eldest son, Li Jun, who had eaten his fill and was sleeping in his mother's arms. His eyes swept over Empress Wang and Wu Huifei. He pondered for a moment but did not say anything. When Gao Lishir saw the emperor's action, he took a deep breath and looked at Li Jun in a different light. Zhang Xiaobao also secretly observed for a moment. He helplessly shook his head and said, "It's not that I want to scheme. Sometimes, some things are forced. Running away will never solve the problem. Since that's the case, let's face it head-on." Wang Wan exhaled. "Actually, it's not that big of a deal. It's fine if we progress quickly. If there are problems, we'll find a way to solve them. If we don't consider the environment, I can fight until the end right now, so I'm not worried about losing. But it's precisely because of the environment that we can't avoid that we have to push forward bit by bit. I don't want to rely on advanced weapons and go deep alone. In the end, others will suffer a crushing defeat and lose more than just the lives of a group of soldiers. Yes, we can't lose. I'd rather increase the cost than bring craftsmen and technicians with me just to save time and money. I'm willing to take the risk of being attacked if the supply line is too long, but I definitely won't bring non-combatants with me and let others have a chance to steal them. In that case, if one of our armies is completely wiped out, the enemy will only steal weapons and ammunition, as well as clothes and food. They can take people as slaves, but if they want to." Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to finish, Wang Wan interrupted, "If they want to rely on the finished products of firearms and ammunition to develop technology, we'll tire them to death. I can give them 100 telegraph machines, but they won't be able to copy them. Even if we give them diesel engines, they won't have the metallurgy skills." Li Longji listened from the side and felt extremely proud. How many people were jealous of the great Tang's industrial and agricultural system? He could easily fly into the sky with a hot air balloon. This is what it means to be an emperor. How could the other small countries dare to declare themselves kings? Have you ever flown before? As he thought about it, Li Longji's mind became restless. He stood up and used a pair of tweezers to pick up a few oysters from the barbecue in front of Xiao Yuan. He dripped 2 drops of soy sauce on each oyster and sprinkled a handful of chopped green onions. He smiled at Xiao Yuan, who had been robbed of her food, and brought it back. He first tasted one oyster, closed his eyes, and enjoyed it. Then, he asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, I'm always bored in the palace. Look, I've created a pear garden. In fact, I have nothing to do. When you go to fight Duoshire, can I hold the fort for you?" Empress Wang and Wu Huifei, who were chatting, suddenly stopped talking. Gao Lishir, on the other hand, opened his mouth wide. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan nodded at the same time and said, "Sure, it'll be fun to lead the imperial troops." "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, you." Gao Lishir didn't need to close his mouth. He directly pointed at Zhang Xiaobao. But Zhang Xiaobao spoke on behalf of him and Cuckoo. But, while we can guarantee your safety during war, we can't guarantee that your majesty can adapt to the climate. You have to train and adapt for a period of time. Otherwise, the doctors may not be able to think of a solution. When Gao Lishe heard Xiaobao say, but, he was relieved. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei continued to talk about the fabric of the clothes. Li Longji was most annoyed by Xiaobao saying, but, and so on. Once he said that, his wish couldn't be fulfilled. But now, he was the one asking for help, so he couldn't be angry. Otherwise, without the support of Xiaobao and Cuckoo, the officials would definitely not let him go. Thus, Li Longji asked softly, Xiaobao, you usually have the most ideas. Think about it, how can I adapt? How can I go to the original Turkic place where you are going to spend a few months after the new year? When Xiaobao heard Li Longji's words, he fell silent again. He used his sleeve to take 2 oysters, one for Wang Wan, and the other for himself to eat after it cooled down a little. Xiao Yuan came over with a small bowl in his hand and said, Brother, sister, I have oyster sauce here. It's pure. I'm not afraid of salty. When I have time, I'll make real oysters for you. There's no need to roast oysters. They're only delicious when eaten raw. I have to process them first before I choose. I don't want you to get sick from eating them. Zhang Xiaobao signaled his younger brother to put the oyster sauce on himself. Wang Wan also hadn't eaten yet, so she waited with him. Xiao Yuan, when we go back, I'll treat you to good food. Li Longji also pushed the oyster over. Oh, there's also Uncle Emperor. I forgot just now. Xiao Yuan deliberately said. Li Longji endured it. Who asked him to snatch other people's things? He was in the wrong. Zhang Xiaobao slowly ate the oyster, then smacked his lips twice and said, Your Majesty, you don't have to go to the original Turkic place. There are soldiers everywhere. It's cold and not lively there. You can go to the original Tubo place after the new year. Li Longji gave Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan an oyster each and asked, Is it fun there? It's not fun, it's to adapt to the climate. Not only do you have to go to the original Tubo place next year, you have to go there more often. It's best if you go there 3 times. If your body can take it, you have to go for at least a month each time. Zhang Xiaobao replied. 3 times. Isn't that too much? Li Longji wanted to go, but he was afraid that others would object. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand and said, It's not much. If not for the fact that you still have to stay in the capital, this subject would want you to stay there for half a year. The last time you go there is when this subject and Cuckoo go on an expedition. This subject has to ensure that the supply line is unimpeded. Furthermore, there can't be only one supply line. Wang Wan added, That's right. Although it's a forceful attack, I don't want too many people to die. Ammunition is just money. I want to continuously fire the cannons. Even if the other party is only one person, as long as he can pose a threat to the soldiers of Great Tang, I'm willing to bombard him with 10,000 cannons. My air force can't keep up, and I don't even have a plane. Therefore, I'll use the artillery battalion to make up for it. I request that every member of the special forces at the front be equipped with a radio. Even if I lose the support of the air force, I want to reach the level of a single soldier. If he sends a report, I will fire the cannons. Even if he says fire at me. Chapter 973. Wang Wan's tone was firm, which meant that no one could refute her words. Li Longji was excited when he heard this. He wished he could become a scout and rush to the front. Xiao Yuan, who was delivering the oyster sauce, also became excited when he heard that there was going to be a war. He took the bowl of oyster sauce and quietly returned to his seat. He pulled Xiao Bei over and whispered to him. Xiao Bei contacted them one by one. After this batch was done, they did not take on new jobs. A group of children gathered together to discuss something. Gao Lisher was also very happy. He had the official position of a general and wanted to go to war. He thought that once the war started, he would go to Tubo with the emperor to win the hearts of the people and help Xiao Bao ensure the supply line. Then, when the front line was smooth and there was no danger, the emperor would go to the front line personally. First, it could increase the morale, second, show the emperor's power, and third, relax. Empress Wang was also very excited. She waved her fist and said, "Fight, Cuckoo, fight for me. When the time comes, His Majesty and I will hold the line for you." She was like this. When Li Longji wanted to be promoted, she helped to plan. Unlike ordinary women, who were worried and helpless, she took the initiative to help Li Longji. It could be said that she was learned from her family. However, later on, because they did not have children, Li Longji, as the emperor, needed women who could fight. Coupled with Wu Huifei's excellent genes, she fell into a passive position. But because Wang Wan liked her, everything changed. She was still the empress, overseeing the great Tang imperial harem, and she had a son and a daughter. At the same time, she learned more tricks, but the things in her bones did not change. She still liked to play sports with the palace maids in the imperial harem. She also wanted to participate in the war. Now, the opportunity came. Wu Huifei, who was beside her, frowned deeply. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan rose at an unstoppable speed, she played two small tricks. When others easily saw through and counterattacked, she was afraid. She knew that Wang Wan and Wang Wan had a bottom line. Because of her own identity, the extent to which she gave in was greater than the other county magistrates who caused trouble in Sanshui County and the officials who caused trouble in other places. However, she would not indulge them endlessly. Now, she no longer planned to overthrow Empress Wang. She only wanted to stabilize her position. However, after hearing the conversation between Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, she did some calculations. If Wang Wan was willing to throw down tens of millions of cannons for the life of a soldier of the Tang Empire, it would require an astronomical amount of manpower and money to produce and transport supplies. Thus, worried that Wang Wan would destroy the foundation of the Great Tang in one battle, she had no choice but to speak up. "Cuckoo, Xiaobao, those who like to fight will surely perish. According to your plan, it will be a waste of manpower and resources. Do you really want to squander all the capital that you've saved up over the years? Duosher is very far away from our dynasty, why would he take the initiative to find trouble? Is it really because he had some friction with Duosher in Tubo that he launched an expedition? You have to know that a superior army should break the enemy's schemes. Why not use the momentum of an army to force them to retreat, just like the Tubo and the Turks? Sister, you can't think like that. We have to fight for our country. It's better for us to fight than them. Isn't that right, Cuckoo?" Empress Wang saw that Wu Huifei wanted to make trouble and interrupted. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao sighed at the same time. Then, Wang Wan signaled Zhang Xiaobao to speak. Zhang Xiaobao had long been used to taking the lead. He explained, "I also don't want to fight. I want to subdue the enemy. However, the Duosher tribe won't surrender. They are expanding very quickly. There will be a battle sooner or later. Since that's the case, let's fight. If we don't fight, where can I get oil? If we dig up all the oil in the Tang Empire, won't we leave behind war preparations for our descendants?" After Zhang Xiaobao spoke, Wang Wan added, "It's inevitable to use the people, but it won't hurt the money. War is a very profitable business. The prerequisite is to win. I'm confident that I can beat them strategically and tactically. I guarantee that I have an absolute military advantage. Zhang Xiaobao nodded repeatedly. In fact, there was oil in the sea, but he couldn't extract it. He could only stare at it. Even oil on land was not easy to extract. If he wanted to extract oil from Daqing, it would be troublesome. He could only dig. Wu Huifei didn't deal with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family, but she had always been concerned about the Tang Empire. A few days ago, she learned about the separation and collection technology of the diesel engine and oil. Now that she heard Zhang Xiaobao mention it, she asked, "Can you make the diesel engine run and can be filled with oil? Do you have duosher?" "I've seen the cans. They are very good for burning, just like methane. It's a pity that you can't light a methane lamp." "Yes, duosher has it. It can't be judged by just having it. It's very rich and convenient to extract." It's relatively convenient. It's better to leave it for them to use in the Tang Empire." Zhang Xiaobao first answered the first question and then introduced the second one, methane lamps, yes, oil separates. In fact, there is something more convenient than methane lamps that can be used as a lamp. It's kerosene. To be honest, if we only use kerosene for lighting, it's better to use methane lamps and steam to generate electricity. That's because it's a waste. It has more uses. In my opinion, oil is more precious than gold. Gold can only be used when the military force between countries is equal, but oil can determine whether the military force is equal. There was no doubt that Wu Huifei's genes were excellent. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she understood that the black thing had many uses and could even determine the outcome of a war. She then asked, "If we win, can my son, Qing, help?" "Yes, if he is willing and can withstand that kind of environment, it's not a problem to let him lead a large number of troops to guard the strategic location. I believe in him." Zhang Xiaobao gave a quick affirmation. When these words came out, other than Wang Wan, everyone was stunned. Wu Huifei was especially affected. How magnanimous and confident must one be to dare to say this? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan agreed to let Li Qing lead a large number of troops to guard the strategic location. It was very useful to the Tang Empire and could even determine the strategic location. Firstly, it showed that they were open-minded. Between the interests of the Tang Empire and their own selfishness, the two of them were willing to choose the former. They also believed that they wouldn't use this to blackmail them. Secondly, they were showing their strength. If there was a problem, they would be able to solve it immediately. Just like before, they didn't care if the other party caused trouble. If they really wanted to deal with the other party, it would be a piece of cake. "Your Majesty, why don't?" Wu Huifei said gently to Li Longji. Before she finished her words, her meaning was clear. Li Longji did not look at Wu Huifei. Instead, he looked at his son and said, "Qing doesn't have much to do recently. He's looking for Xiaobao and Cuckoo to ask about his knowledge. He's also playing games with Jun and Pan. As an older brother, he should act like one." Gao Lisher had been with Li Longji for many years. How could he not understand Li Longji's meaning? He said, "Your Majesty's words are exactly what I'm thinking. When I look at Xiaobao, I feel that they're very good. After I took Xiaobao as my adopted son, I chatted with Zhang Zhong in my spare time. Zhang Zhong even said that he was worried that Xiaobao and Cuckoo were smart and would scheme against their younger brother or sister to fight for the family inheritance in the future." Later, when he arrived at Luzhou and learned that his wife was pregnant with twins, he was busy helping the people and mountain people in Luzhou deliver the babies so that the doctors could familiarize themselves with the twins. It was only then that he learned that Xiaobao and Cuckoo were very caring toward their younger brother and sister. When he saw the abilities they had learned, he was at ease. The two of them were willing to give up the family inheritance with a smile. In my opinion, Li Qing isn't inferior to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. At this point, if Wu Huifei continued to say that she did not understand, she would be pretending. When she looked at Li Jun, the first thought that came to her mind was that great Tang might have another crown prince. The son of the first wife was indeed extraordinary. At this moment, Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao responded with a slight pout. Hence, Wang Wan smiled noncommittally. Her thoughts were the same as Zhang Xiaobao's. It was not because of one's identity that they would let one do whatever they wanted. Instead, it was because of one's abilities. If Lu Shan were to step up, it would be a real trap. Wu Huifei's heart sank for a moment, but she quickly recovered and said, speaking of Qing, she's slow-witted. She can't compare to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, but she has a good heart. She'll definitely help Great Tang for a long time. She understood that as long as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were around, her son would never be able to rise to the top. This was the result of birth. Li Jun was lucky enough to be by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's side at a good time. How many skills did she learn from them? Looking at Xiao Bei's 9 children, it was clear that they had nothing to do with their birth parents. This was because they did not have the same parents. All of them were by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's side almost every day, receiving their education. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were all elites. They were really smart. Although Xiao Bei was usually the only one making a fuss, the other 8 children were not stupid at all. They just let Xiao Bei take the lead. Even the children of the royal family were not as fortunate as them. They would not scheme against each other. Every time they encountered a difficult problem, they would immediately work together to think of a solution. For example, just as Wu Huifei was thinking about all kinds of things, Xiao Bei and her 9 children walked over majestically. As usual, Xiao Bei took the lead. The other 8 lined up with Xiao Bei as the center. Not doing business? Zhang Xiaobao asked with a smile when he saw his siblings coming over. Yes. Xiao Bei was a little nervous, so her smile was the brightest. She was like this when she was nervous, thinking that she could confuse others. However, she definitely did not know that her brother studied psychology, and her sister was also proficient in interrogation techniques. Zhang Xiaobao also smiled and waved his sister over. He hugged her and asked, "What kind of business are you going to do?" "Or candy house. Opening a branch to Duofu. Are you going to say that the sweetest thing is the honey pastry from Baby Candy House, and the happiest way to eat it is to taste it with your family?" Wang Wan burst out laughing. She had already thought of this when Xiao Yuan left just now. Xiao Bei pouted and nodded. Then, she said with grievance, "The saddest thing is that when you think of many ways to hide your goal, you realize that there is nowhere to hide." Chapter 974. When the moon crept up from the east, the fleet was already brightly lit. Singing, dancing, drinking games, poetry, and the aroma of barbecue and hot pot mixed together and permeated the night sky. It didn't feel like the emperor was on an inspection tour, but more like a party on a flower boat. Feng Xiaoxingyi and the others were currently hiding in the cabin, eating biscuits and drinking water while learning the techniques that they had spent a lot of money to buy. This was what Wang Wan appreciated, but that didn't mean that she would let it go. The 3 of them listened to the commotion outside and felt an indescribable irritation in their hearts. They wanted to rush out and shut everyone up, or even let a group of pirates take this opportunity to rush onto the ship and kill the Tang Emperor and Zhang Wang's 11 children. However, they were very clear that there was no chance for a sneak attack. Behind the scenes of singing and dancing, there were many people who were working harder than them. Not to mention eating biscuits, even breathing needed to be controlled. There were layers of defenses, not leaving any blind spots. Xiao Bei and the others didn't come up with a good idea even after dinner. They decided to go to sleep first and rest up before discussing and doing their homework for the day. Empress Wang also coaxed the child to sleep. Even when the child was fast asleep, she sang a lullaby over and over again. Every time her gaze swept across the child's peaceful face, a smile would appear on her face. Li Longji was very happy today, so he drank a little too much. He gathered with Gao Lisher and a group of eunuchs and palace maids to brag. The palace maids and eunuchs rarely saw the emperor like this, so they carefully accompanied him and occasionally praised him. They waited for a long time, but the generals who couldn't wait for the military selections to find their opponents and compete on a small sand table. Often, a general would rush out of his own room and scold his opponent for being shameless. He wanted to turn the military battle into a one-on-one duel between generals. The technicians of the Ministry of Works gathered in groups of 3 to 5 to discuss new techniques. Some simply brought their tools and ran into the steam engine room to accompany the machines. Only when they heard the familiar sounds of the machines did they feel at ease. There were many common people gathered on both sides of the river. The speed of the fleet was not as fast as the transmission of the telegram. Wherever they passed by, even if the officials knew that the emperor would not look at them, they still had to bring the people from the yamen out to show respect. The yamen runners also had relatives, so when the yamen officials were on the move, they would follow many common people to the riverside to watch the fun. When the days were better, the common people found that there was relatively less entertainment. It should be very fun to see the emperor's boat. The most popular was the woman whose child had fallen into the river and was rescued. When she returned home with her child, the whole village, regardless of age or gender, had surrounded her house. When the crowd saw her, she turned into the moon and was held by the stars. Normally, if a child fell into the water and returned home, he might be beaten by the men at home. However, the woman's husband didn't dare to do anything. He even spoke softly. There was nothing he could do. After all, the woman had met the emperor. In the future, the power structure of the family might change. While the woman was answering other people's questions, she took out the gifts that people had given her when she got off the boat and distributed them to the villagers. There were pieces of cloth that were tied together, and there were also pieces of candy that were put in a small bag. They were all gifts. The land production this year is good. The price of food will probably be cheap. Let Chongping buy at a certain price. Don't hurt the farmers because the grain is cheap. Our construction group also needs to hire people quickly. When the people have money, they will spend it on food, clothes, and houses. Although a house is not equal to a home must have a house. I think that some people will consider that it is not cost-effective to build their own house, so they will pay for others to build it. Our construction group will push out a few model houses according to the environment of each place. They can choose whether they are cheap or beautiful. Different choices will have different fees. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the things written by Wang Wan and said, "Oh, then change my suggestion of asking the people to store their own food. You are more familiar with this." Wang Wan nodded and admitted. She continued, "At first, I thought that the people will spend a lot of money next year and don't have enough food. I was confused and forgot about Chongping. This way, Chongping can still earn some money to maintain the granary." "Xiaobao, what you said is also not good. We will ask the people who are responsible for transporting supplies to the army to open an account with the bank. Then, we will transfer the money into the bank. This is very messy, and they can't see the money in the bank. Why don't we give them the money first and let them store it themselves? We can help them store the money properly. Don't think that the people are willing to do this. Now that you have brought Li Longji here, what are you going to do for him? Wang Wan also pointed out the flaws in Zhang Xiaobao's plan and asked about Li Longji's arrangement. Zhang Xiaobao yawned and turned his head. It was bright outside, so he closed the document in his hand. All right, it's more troublesome. If it were me, I would be willing to store it in the bank. I still trust the bank. Let's go, wash up and eat. After that, we will go ashore. Li Longji is easy to arrange. I plan to bring him to Tianqi to play. It's about time. When we return, the Yellow River will be blocked. We have to go to Shandong first, then take the land route to Luoyang, and then take the train. Wang Wan put down the document and rubbed her face. A night had passed so quickly. She opened the window, and the cold wind blew in. She quickly closed it again. The weather in the north is always fluctuating. Everyone says that there are prehistoric creatures in Tianqi. Let's see if we can find them. I don't think so. Why don't we think of a way to spread poison in there and kill everything? They will naturally float up. Actually, it's very easy to find out. In the past, we could send submarines and other methods, but that place doesn't belong to us. Let's see if anyone dares to say that Tianqi belongs to them. I declare that the Changbai Mountains and the front line belong to Tang dynasty. Who doesn't agree? Is there anyone who doesn't agree? Zhang Xiaobao shouted at the window. All right, I give in. Stop shouting. I really give in to you. You didn't sleep the whole night and you can still come up with such a sinister plan. I thought you were going to drain the water. Wang Wan turned off the lights, got up, and walked out. Zhang Xiaobao followed behind with his head lowered. Who said I'm not sleepy? I'll go to sleep after eating. I'll get someone to bring Li Longji to the seaside to enjoy the sea breeze. When they met for breakfast, Zhang Xiaobao was surprised to see that Li Longji's eye circles were darker than his. He seemed to be very tired from bragging last night. Xiaobao, where are you bringing me today? Li Longji had already drunk a bowl of soup when he woke up. The water hadn't been digested yet, so he didn't eat much. After eating 2 steamed buns, he stopped and asked Zhang Xiaobao, who was eating a pie. Your Majesty, follow someone to the seaside first. The water there hasn't frozen yet. Have a taste of the joy of catching and eating now. Go to bed early tonight. We have to travel a long distance tomorrow, and we have to walk on the water. We have to go to the place that belongs to Xinluo. Let's go take it. Zhang Xiaobao put down his chopsticks and said to Li Longji. Is that place good? Li Longji had already gone outside to feel it. The sea was indeed very big, and he couldn't see the end of it at a glance. However, it was especially cold, so he didn't feel that it was good. Whether it's good or not, it's mainly because that place belongs to Tang dynasty. Don't you think so? It was temporarily used by the people of Xinluo. We have to take it back. If they don't give it to us, we'll cut off their grain. This year, Xinluo's cotton harvest is quite good. Zhang Xiaobao had calculated this matter. If not, why would he let Li Longji come? He would let Xinluo take the initiative to admit that the Tianqi Lake belonged to him. According to the normal plan, Changbai Mountain belonged to Bohai Commander-in-Chief's manor, but there were people from Xinluo living there. They were mainly there to pick ginseng. The original Bohai Commander-in-Chief's manor belonged to Tang dynasty in name only. Now that Zhang Xiaobao had taken it down, he hadn't gone to clean up the people in other places. Firstly, there weren't many people there, and secondly, it wasn't easy to guard against them. The place was too big, and they couldn't patrol it. That was why he let Li Longji come to the northeast to play. He wanted to strengthen the reputation of the entire region and let the people there feel that they truly belonged to Tang dynasty. Since the emperor had come, it naturally meant that he had acknowledged Bohai commander-in-chief's manner. It was no longer awkward when he hadn't been acknowledged. At the same time, he gave Xinluo a chance to perform. He wanted them to be more proactive and gradually acknowledge Xinluo's status as a prefectural road of Tang dynasty. In fact, Zhang Xiaobao himself could also force Xinluo to suddenly be willing to become a part of Tang dynasty. However, it was too stiff. No matter what, Zhang Xiaobao was only a provincial governor, and not a provincial governor of Xinluo. Xinluo was a country on its own. Now that Li Longji was here, he could deal with Xinluo in the future. The nobles of Xinluo would be able to give face. Otherwise, if the resistance was too intense, he would have to spend a lot of effort to appease them. Another point was that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to get a portion of the Xinluo people to live here this winter. At that time, he would let Li Longji say a few words and establish a trade county between Tang dynasty and Xinluo to encourage the Xinluo people to move to the trade county. If they weren't willing to come, he could tell them that the Tang dynasty's grain output this year had been greatly reduced due to frequent disasters. There was no more grain to be exchanged with Xinluo. In order not to break the contract, he would use other things of higher value to replace it. For example, exquisite silk, strong and useful ironware, or exquisite ceramics. He would use these to replace grain and take back the cotton flowers from Xinluo. If the Xinluo people did not want to starve to death, they could only bring these things to the newly established county to exchange for grain. The county would give them some preferential policies and vigorously promote that Xinluo and Tang dynasty were one family. Many Xinluo people would stay. Next, we'll let the Xinluo people who come over become rich first. Then, we'll let them go back and help promote. While Zhang Xiaobao was talking to Li Longji, Wang Wan whispered to Empress Wang about Zhang Xiaobao's plan and plans. Empress Wang nodded repeatedly when she heard this. Good idea. This way, we won't have to fight. You and Xiaobao are still kind-hearted. It's rare that you can't bear to use weapons against the people of Xinluo. Wang Wan was sweating from the praise. Then, she said to Empress Wang, Mother, we have to travel for the next few days. You have to stay in Jili province and concubine Hui. Otherwise, we won't be able to return if we waste too much time on the road. Li Longji was also asking Zhang Xiaobao, if that's the case, I'll be wasting my time on the road. Next year, when I go to Tibet, I can't be in such a hurry. I want to take a good stroll. How's the scenery in Tibet compared to here? There's no way to compare. They're all different. The only problem with Tibet is that it's hard to breathe when you reach the place. I'll get the Ministry of Works and the Medical College to prepare oxygen tanks before you leave. Think about it now. The sky is very blue, the clouds are very white, and the wind is very strong. You can roughly guess. Zhang Xiaobao took advantage of the time when Li Longji was thinking about the sky and clouds to eat his food as quickly as possible. When Li Longji still hadn't thought it through and was about to ask him, he had already finished eating. The ship was going to be handed over to Axian Luo in Japan, so everyone had to go down. After resting for a day, they set off on their own ship. Many people at the dock had already started unloading goods from the ship. They were all local specialties bought from various places in the capital. They couldn't make a trip for nothing. The matter of providing goods to the locals was also considered. The people who drove the ship and the technicians who repaired it would be left on the ship. Under the protection of the gunships that were also rented to Japan and Axian Luo, they would head to the two places. However, the gunships only allowed Exi and Luo and Japan to send people to watch and coordinate on the ship, but they weren't allowed to touch the weapons. When Li Longji and the others were about to get off the ship, the goods were almost unloaded. This time, Xiao Bei didn't jump into the water. Instead, he walked down the ladder while talking. "Brother, why don't you ask Exi and Luo and Japan for an additional trial fee? We helped them test the ship all the way. With our status, we took the risk to test the ship for them. Shouldn't they do something?" That was what Xiao Bei said. Fengxiao Shouji, who had already come down and was standing at the dock, almost fell into the sea when he heard the sound coming from above. Zhang Xiaobao was very gratified. According to the current development of the situation, there would be very few opportunities for his sister to be fooled in the future. "Xiao Bei, you have to remember that the friendship between countries can't be measured by money. We helped them today. Perhaps we will need their help in the future." If it were any other child from the great Tang, Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't dare to say this. He was afraid that the child would take it seriously. However, Xiao Bei was definitely not a problem. As expected, Xiao Bei looked as if he had been taught a lesson and said, "Brother, I understand. Actually, there's no need for the future. We need their help now. Why don't we ask Japan to send 50,000 more people to work for us to prove their friendship? In a little while, I'll go and discuss this with Fengxiao Kun. I'm confident that he'll agree, and so will the Japanese. After all, the great Tang and Japan share a deep friendship. They'll definitely think the same and not reject us as enemies." Fengxiao Shouji, Sanben, and Sanji all sat on the ground at the same time. They were afraid that they wouldn't be able to control themselves and would fall into the sea. Their hearts were filled with hatred. Zhang Xiaobao and his sister were really too immoral. They were clearly saying this for the three of them to hear. When Xiao Bei came, if they didn't agree, then they would be enemies. Xiao Bei didn't care about what the others thought. He happily followed his brother off the boat. He found the other 8 people and ran off to the side to whisper. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't sleep the entire night and were still sleepy. After getting off the boat, they didn't bother with the arrangements made by Li Longji and the others. They found a nearby place and the two of them took a hot bath. Then, they squeezed together and fell asleep. The busiest one was Xiao Bei. He ran around and didn't say anything. He just followed along and joined in the fun. Behind him were Li Jun and Pan Er. When the two girls saw that there were so many people, they also began to run like crazy. From time to time, they would be pulled back by Xiao Bei and pointed at something to teach them. Xiao Hai and the others could only protect them from the side. At the very least, they couldn't let Li Jun and Pan Er run outside of the protective circle. About 2 li away from the pier, there was an amusement park. It was a small amusement park. The bigger amusement park wasn't at the pier. The pier was deep and there wasn't a suitable beach for them to play on. Although the amusement park was small, it was relatively speaking. It had all the facilities that could be found inside. There was a merry-go-round, a high slide, a maze, a seesaw, and so on. There were also themed houses, crab-shaped, prawn-shaped, and so on. Amusement park. Amusement park. Speak. Xiao Bei brought the 2 younger children to the outside of the amusement park. He pointed at the 3 words and taught them to read. The 2 little brats opened their mouths and tried to say the words twice. Then, they couldn't do it and insisted on going in. Xiao Bei was helpless and could only bring them in. There were no ticket takers at the entrance, nor were there any ticket sales windows. All the rides inside were free. Li Longji followed behind as well. There weren't many people around to protect them. The guards were all monitoring from afar. The people in the theme park weren't chased away. Instead, they were checked over and over again to confirm their identities. Then, they were taken away from them if they were carrying dangerous items that could cause harm to others. Although it was winter, there were still many people playing. The children's faces were red from the cold, but they weren't willing to stop. They couldn't stand the cold, so they ran to the side where all kinds of food were sold to keep warm. This kind of place had a room to eat. It was warm inside, and there were radiators outside. There were also seats on the left and right to block the wind for the adults so they could watch the children play. In fact, the restaurant also had glass windows that allowed people to see outside. However, Zhang Xiaobao had discussed with Wang Wan before. Although it was just a glass window, the adults would feel that they were too far away from the children. If they fell, they wouldn't be able to help them. Therefore, they had to set up seats outside. The truth was just as Zhang Xiaobao had said. No adults who brought their children out to play were willing to leave their children outside, even if they knew that the amusement park built by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family was very safe and had people protecting it at all times. Li Longji looked at the group of children running around and suddenly felt very good. He asked the manager who accompanied him, "Why don't you charge them? I don't see a place to buy tickets." "Your Majesty, because it's a children's amusement park, if you charge them, the parents will choose what to let their children play. If it's expensive, they won't want to spend money." The young master said that he couldn't care if the Tang dynasty's children played in other places, but he could definitely guarantee that they could play to their heart's content in the amusement park built by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Even if... "Your Majesty, please forgive me." The young master said that even if the emperor's child came to play, he wouldn't be able to show his identity in the amusement park. He wouldn't have a chance because other than playing, children also eat for free. What he can eat, other children can eat too. Even if he brought his own food, it might not be better than what the amusement park provides. The manager originally didn't want to say anything, but he still answered honestly. Li Longji wasn't angry. He knew that the so-called not showing his identity was only in terms of playing and eating. Jun He and Pan He's degree of protection would definitely be different. However, if the child of a certain prince came, Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't dare to do anything. Seeing Jun He and Pan He being helped onto the merry-go-round, Li Longji asked again, "Can the money be collected?" "Your Majesty, it can. It's just that the amount earned is more than the amount earned. The people who can come to Jili province to play are either rich people in summer where there's no sea, or rich people in winter where there's no snow. In summer, people look at the sea, and in winter, they look at the snow." After calculating and calculating, it was found that the amount of money they spent to buy tickets, food, and accommodation is exactly the same as the basic cost of the amusement park. The person in charge replied. Li Longji didn't believe him at all. He looked at Gao Lisher, and Gao Lisher also had an expression of disbelief on his face. Thus, he asked on behalf of the emperor, "Xiao Bao created such a scene just to do charity for the rich people of Tang dynasty. If you're saying that Xiao Bao is doing charity for the common people who don't have a good life, I believe it. Master Gao is right. If he's doing charity for the rich, not only Master Gao and Your Majesty, this humble one also doesn't believe it. The little Gongzi earned money outside of the tickets. For example, Your Majesty, and you don't see snow in Jiangnan province. Even if it does, it won't be heavy. If it really gets heavy, it will become a disaster. This is because the people in the south can't be prepared for snow at all times, unlike the north, where they have to be prepared at all times. The manager continued to explain. His words were clear and respectful. After all, not everyone could accompany the emperor. Li Longji and Gao Lisher nodded slightly, indicating for the other party to continue. Your Majesty's family is rich, so you want to come to Jili province to see the snow in winter. Master Gao's family is ordinary. He has a business. Without a foster son like the little Gongzi, when we sell tickets, we only sell one kind of ticket, a set of tickets. If the two of you want to come from Jiangnan province, it costs 60 strings of coins, including the boat fare, and 70 strings of coins if you travel by land. When the two of you buy tickets, you can't reveal your identity. This way, Master Gao will be willing to come. However, your Majesty is rich, and you still have to think of a way to reveal your identity. Then, when you arrive, you can ask for a better house and better food and wine, and the gap between you and your family will widen. As for you, Master Gao, you have a child or other family members. You can't spend too much money, but you will definitely understand. After all, between the clouds and the water, blue sea, silver sand, and sea of clouds are such places, and our service is very good. We won't be prejudiced against you because you don't want to live in a better house because of the tickets you buy. When she smiles at your Majesty, she definitely won't dare to show her 7.5 teeth to you, unless she loses half of her teeth. Ta! Ta! Li Longji and Gao Lisher couldn't help but laugh when they heard this kind of humorous and witty words. I know. The food and accommodation can be different, so you should be able to earn quite a lot of money. Li Longji nodded his head even more. This was his recognition of Zhang Xiaobao, which was Xiaobao's style. Yes, you can indeed earn quite a lot of money. Another thing is souvenirs. There is a type of free souvenir that is exquisitely made. Together with the tickets you leave in your hands, it can prove that you have been to Jili province. There are also souvenirs that have to be bought with money, such as deer skin, fox skin, tiger bones, bear paws, and so on. The price is very high. The little young master said that there are not many tourists now. If there are really hundreds of thousands of tourists in a year, then the fur of animals can't be bought with money. The little young master is afraid that he will kill all of them. It is too easy to use guns to hunt. Therefore, in the future, he will have to look at the level of consumption before he starts to breed animals. He can't let the children of future generations understand what kind of animals there used to be in Tang from pictures. Miss Cuckoo also said that when the day comes, the children will definitely not praise their ancestors for their bravery when they use advanced weapons to bully animals. Their weapons will be more advanced. Money can't be earned, but animals can be killed. When the steward talked about the little young master and Miss, his face was filled with sincerity. Li Longji deeply agreed. Yes, we can't only leave behind people for our future generations. We have to leave behind other things. Other than animals and minerals, we have to let them know that their ancestors once worked hard for them. I, Li Longji, can proudly say that when I was alive, Tang dynasty was the #1 country in the world. The children can curse whoever ruined it. Long live your Majesty. The surrounding people said in unison again. Let's go. Bring me to see what food and toys there are. Looking at the things in front of me, I'm envious. I didn't play with them when I was young. Li Longji waved his hand casually and strode towards a slide made of snow. Chapter 975. Li Longji and the others walked into the amusement park. They did not attract the attention of the other visitors. They did not know the emperor was here. For this reason, the Zhang family and the Wang family would suffer some losses in today's transaction. They would use other reasons to investigate the matter. After the investigation, the other party would have to compensate them. Although with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's identities, no one would dare to say anything even if they did not compensate them. A transaction was a transaction. The children ran around in groups. From time to time, they would run to where their families were and ask for food. However, before they could swallow the food, they would run off to play again. The concerned voices of their parents rang from behind them. Li Longji did not have many guards with him. The two swift shooters who were in charge of protecting Xiao Bei and the others were assigned to his left and right. After all, the result of the investigation was that there was no danger. After all, who would be so free as to come to the Zhang family and the Wang family's territory to cause trouble? If someone had such thoughts, the consequences would be unimaginable. Li Longji didn't walk quickly, afraid that he would bump into the children running back and forth. He had already seen many children fall to the ground with his own eyes. The children were all wearing thick clothes, and other than their faces that were red from the cold, everything else was covered. Their legs were not nimble to begin with. If they lost their balance slightly, they would fall to the ground. They would roll around like a ball before they got up and continued playing. There was no need to worry about injuring themselves. This scene made Li Longji laugh from time to time. While he was laughing, a child ran toward him and fell to the ground with a thud. The child was wearing thick clothes and could not get up immediately. He looked helplessly at Li Longji and the others who were standing at the side and said, "Help me up. Why are you just looking at me and laughing?" Ha ha ha. Li Longji laughed loudly. He squatted down and helped the child up. Then, he asked, "Where are you from?" "Lingnan Circuit. Luzhou. I'm 4.5 years old this year." The child was not afraid of strangers at all. He drew a 4 with his small hand. Then, he touched Li Longji's clothes and praised him like an adult. "Not bad. Good material. Oh, you even have guards and servants. You must be rich or high-ranking officials. Be careful here. Don't mention how rich you are or how high your rank is. Play with yourself and don't bully others." Ever since Li Longji interacted more with Xiao Bei and the others, he began to like children. He teased the other party. "What if I cause trouble? What can you do? Then I won't play with you anymore. I'll tell others to arrest you. If you dare to cause trouble in Governor Zhang's business, I guarantee that you won't be able to get away with it." Humph. The child put on a solemn expression and warned Li Longji. Li Longji hurriedly nodded in agreement. "That's right, that's right. Putting aside the officials, even the emperor wouldn't dare to cause a ruckus here. Even the emperor is afraid that the children of Great Tang will be unhappy. What kind of business is your family in? How much does it cost? You're not allowed to speak ill of His Majesty. His Majesty is a good emperor. He sent Provincial Governor Zhang to Luzhou. My family doesn't have any business. My father has been guarding the lighthouse for half a year. When he's on break, he brings me here to play. We don't spend any money. When he came here, he brought a lot of goods. They're all Luzhou's specialties. When I came here, I thought I'd see Provincial Governor Zhang. However, his family is in the capital now. I handed the goods to the people here, and they'll help me bring them back." Otherwise, when he was done, he would have received at least 30,000 strings of cash. The child spoke whatever was on his mind. His little hand that had just finished gesturing his age was now waving 3 fingers. Li Longji nodded. He knew what kind of money the child was talking about. Just like Sanshui County, when an official was in office, he would do his job honestly and think of the people. He would not embezzle or accept bribes. If he did his job well, he would receive a large sum of money when he left office. In fact, it was even more than the money he might have embezzled when he was in office. In retrospect, there was indeed such a thing. The provincial governor of Luzhou had taken the initiative to apply for a transfer. As it turned out, he was forced to leave. His surname was Tang. He really did not know what he was thinking. How dare he interfere with the welfare system that the Zhang family and the Wang family gave to Lu Zhou? He was really bold. While the two of them were talking, the child's father came over. His son was stopped for questioning. He had to take a look at him. "Excuse me, you are?" The child's father was shorter. His face was a unique color that was blown by the sea breeze. He first glanced at Li Longji and the others. When he saw the rice seedling symbol on the chests of the two quick gunmen, he was relieved. Therefore, he leaned forward and asked. The adults were smarter than the children. With just a glance, they knew that the person in front of them had a good relationship with the Zhang family and the Wang family. Otherwise, he would not have been protected by the guards of the Zhang family and the Wang family. Therefore, their tone was respectful when they spoke. At this moment, Li Longji stood up and smiled at the child. "My surname is Li. Your provincial governor Zhang works for me. This time, I'm here with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to take a look. I don't intend to alarm too many people." Li Longji had hinted that the other party would understand. The child's father was indeed smart. His mouth opened in shock, but he quickly covered it with his hand. The shock in his eyes did not diminish as he nodded repeatedly. Li Longji continued to say, "I know it's tough to guard the lighthouse. When the sea breeze is strong, it will bring a storm into the lighthouse. You have to protect the light so that it won't go out. You also have to prepare food and lodging for the people on the ship. It's all thanks to your hard work that Great Tang is able to prosper. Thank you for your hard work." The child's father shook his head repeatedly. "It's nothing. It's what I should do." "Then, you're here. Where are the little young master and the little lady?" "They're asleep. They've been busy the entire night. They might come in the afternoon. I believe you'll be able to see them then. Since Lu Zhou is here, he doesn't even need to check on you." Li Longji could not help but feel jealous. When the other party spoke to him, he was respectful. However, when he talked about Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, he was friendly. He did not hide the anticipation in his eyes at all. The child's father was delighted when he heard this. He. Coming in the afternoon. I'm not going back to my place. I'll bring the child in to eat and wait. It's worth it. I'll tell them when I get back. They'll be so envious. Li Longji wanted to say that he was already envious. He was not envious that he could see Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. He was envious that the people of Lu Zhou still remembered them even though they had left Lu Zhou for so many years. Your Majesty, shall we take a walk in that direction? Gao Lisher spoke from the side. He could not tell the child's father to stop wasting the emperor's time. He could only remind him indirectly. Yes, Your Majesty. Please take a look around. I'll bring the child in to eat. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. Fortunately, there were many slides. With a row, there were roughly 20 of them. Everyone who wanted to play didn't have to wait too long. After another 3 people slid down, Li Longji was finally placed in position. He adjusted his position according to the instructions of the person in charge of the skateboards. Many people were worried about him as he slid down. There were already people below to protect him. They felt very helpless. Why did the emperor have to play this? It was too torturous. When he reached the bottom, Li Longji patted the snow off his body. He was very happy. He looked around and suddenly asked, where did Xiao Bei and the others go? They brought Jun, and Pan, to play with something good. Gao Lisher also realized that Xiao Bei and the others were nowhere to be seen. He replied according to what Xiao Bei said. When Li Longji asked about Xiao Bei, Xiao Bei and the others were playing with snowmen. Xiao Bei and the others were in charge of designing and building the snowmen. Jun, and Pan were running around the snowmen. Occasionally, they would stop and help sprinkle 2 handfuls of snow. They were very happy. This was the second place for children to build snowmen. The first place was filled with snowmen. In front of each snowman was written the name of the person who made it. It had to be left for next spring. There was also a person in charge of drawing the snowmen. They would help draw the children and snowmen together on a piece of paper as a souvenir. The numbered snowmen were left for the children for a year. If they came back next winter, they could build another snowman in the original position. If they didn't come back, then there would be no more. If they came year after year, then so be it. It was also a way to promote sales. If you were really rich, then you could rent a spot for a long time. The price wasn't cheap. Xiao Bei found a place that could be rented for a long time. However, she wouldn't pay a single copper coin. Who let it be her family's business? She planned to build 11 snowmen in one day, one for each person. While she and her brothers and sisters were building snowmen, there were also 3 children building snowmen. Not only were they slow, but they also didn't look good. It wasn't because there were few people, but because they didn't have a professional designer. When they cooperated, they couldn't reach a tacit understanding. On Xiao Bei's side, Xiao Zhu drew a 3-dimensional perspective. Xiao Hai did the calculations, and the others followed the design. They were fast and organized. It didn't take long for them to make a cone of a snowman's body. When the time came, they still had to remove the extra parts. They had to put a head on it first. The 3 children next to them had been there for a long time. They were so cold that their noses were running. The medical staff next to them took their pulse, took their temperature, and made each of them drink a bowl of medicinal soup. Only then did they dare to let them continue playing. The 3 children didn't even have time to roll a large snowball, let alone a base. The child in the lead looked to be around 10 years old. Seeing Xiao Bei's group of younger children working so fast, he became anxious. When Xiao Bei and the others made a slope and sent a large snowball to be used as the head of the snowman, the child in the lead finally couldn't stand it anymore. He rushed over and kicked Xiao Bei's snowman. Xiao Bei's first reaction wasn't to stop the child, but to signal the other guards to not come over. Then, she watched as the child kicked the snowman until it was chipped. When the child felt that it was about time to stop, Xiao Bei smiled and asked, "This big brother, why don't we build a more beautiful and bigger snowman together? You guys are big and strong, so you can do the most important work. We are small, so we can help move the snow." The adults who were helping the children to build the snowman had stopped when they saw that someone was causing trouble. They waited to hear Xiao Bei's words and then looked at the calm faces of the 11 children. They instantly understood that the 11 children were definitely not to be trifled with. They were definitely the children of a large family, because the little girl was showing the demeanor of an aristocratic family. To be able to make a little girl who looked to be around 6 or 7 years old say such words, it was obvious how the other party's family educated her. However, the 3 children didn't know that. After the eldest child finished kicking the snowman and heard Xiao Bei's words, he thought that the other party was afraid. He snorted arrogantly, "No need. I see that you guys didn't build it well, so I'll give you guys a chance to build it again. You guys aren't worthy of playing with me. Alright, we'll continue, but you can't break it again. If you're not convinced, you can build a better one yourselves. It's not good to cause trouble for others. Actually, I don't think it's important whether the snowman looks good or not. What's important is that we built the snowman ourselves, don't you think so?" Xiao Bei continued to endure. If it was an adult who came to cause trouble, she would make the other party regret it for the rest of their life. However, she had always thought of herself as an adult, so she was more tolerant of the little children. The eldest child was embarrassed by Xiao Bei's words. He resentfully returned to his place and vented his anger at the other two children before continuing to build the snowman. Xiao Bei didn't want to pay attention to him. She came out to play just to have fun. She pulled on Xiao Hai's arm. "Brother, what do we do?" "Fix it, what else can we do?" "I'll measure how much snow needs to be added." Xiao Hai took out a rope and patiently measured the extent of the snowman's damage. After measuring, he said, "There's no need to add any more snow. The snowman we designed is round on the top and round on the bottom. It's more like candied haws. Once the top is done, we'll have to cut off the bottom. I'll draw a line and continue." Thus, the 11 children started to get busy again. Only June and Pan glanced at the person who destroyed the snowman with vigilant eyes from time to time. Their young hearts couldn't understand who the other party was to be so strong. They only knew that the beautiful snowman had been kicked. It was the first time they met someone who dared to stop them from having fun. They were very worried that the person would come and kick it again. The surrounding guards disguised as guards of various professions didn't come over. If Xiao Bei didn't let them, then they didn't care. As long as the other party didn't do anything that would hurt the 11 little ancestors, it was fine. Compared to the calm mentality of the thriving and strong protection team, the 6 Jinwu guards disguised as Candied Haws merchants were very angry. Which family's little brat was this? Was he tired of living? He dared to kick the snowman made by the imperial son and the eldest princess. However, since Xiao Bei didn't want to pursue the matter, they could only endure. They believed that if something really happened here, they wouldn't need to show up. It was fine as long as there was no danger. Xiao Bei and the others worked very quickly, especially Zhang Chang. He was strong and taller than the others, so he was the main force. After a while, the head of the snowman was done, and the body below was also in the process of being polished. Xiao Yuan went to get charcoal and carrots, and also asked someone to bring a small stool. He planned to ask Xiao Zhu to draw on it. At this time, the 3 children were still not done. The oldest one took a look. "Yo, you're quite fast." He walked over again. Xiao Bei was angry this time. Without waiting for the other party to come closer, he shouted, "I'm telling you, don't cause trouble for your parents. Try touching our snowman again." The other party was frightened by Xiao Bei's words. He also felt that it was unfair, so he shouted back, "Do you know what my father does?" Xiao Bei was stunned and turned to look at the others. The others had a depressed expression. Why was this the same thing that happened in the stories told by Big Brother and Big Sister? Chapter 976. Xiao Bei sighed helplessly and said, "All right, then tell me, what do you want to achieve? Even if you destroy all of ours, you won't be able to build your own. You don't agree with us building it together, and you can't do it yourself. From what you're saying, your father should be very powerful, so why don't you just ask him to send a few people to help you build it? Why do you have to make trouble for us? We're younger than you, so as an older brother, can't you give in a little?" Xiao Bei really couldn't bear to do anything violent to a child. She could feel it. Don't look at the other party's age. If she just sent out 2 people, other than June and Pan, they would be able to beat the other party down. Since last year, the 9 of them had been receiving simple combat training from her brother and sister. In fact, it was just to train their bodies, but their movements were suitable for actual combat. Her sister always said that her brother didn't teach the 9 of them how to train, but wanted to train the 9 of them into killers. Besides, there were many bodyguards around. Bullying a child was really boring. But the other party always wanted to make trouble. It was too annoying. Whose child was this? So immature. Who was his father? June Her and Pan Her's father was the emperor, so they still had to help hold the snow. Everyone was just having fun, so why did they have to be like this? Thinking like this, Xiao Bei was very distressed. The other party's education naturally couldn't compare to Xiao Bei and the others, so he thought that Xiao Bei and the others were more afraid of him, so he said, "My purpose is to not allow you to build a snowman. If you build one, I will break it. If you dare to tell the people here, I won't let you go when I get out." Why should I? You have to be reasonable, right? Xiao Bei asked. She regretted asking because she already knew what the other party would say. Sure enough, the older child said, "Reason. I'm the reason." Xiao Bei was a little dazed for a moment. She sighed that her brother and sister were really amazing. The story they told was too classic. That story really talked about the joys and sorrows of the world, taking into account all kinds of things. June Her and Pan were already pouting, but the other 8 children were speechless. Xiao Bei chose to back down again. "You're too much of a bully. How about this, I'll treat you to good food later. It's not sold here. You definitely can't eat it normally, okay? What can I not eat? Do you know who my father is? Do you know how much I spent to come here? Just the best room alone costs 50 strings of coins a night, which is 50,000 copper coins. Other than the room that is not open to the public, this is the best room. Do you know how much it costs to eat a meal? Apart from those that are not for sale, a meal costs 20 strings of cash." The big boy puffed out his chest, and his 2 followers also looked proud. One of the lackeys even said, "Even if our young master spent all this money, he didn't need to pay for it. In the local area, he could just move his hand and endless amounts of money would be sent to him. Officials, you know. This is an official." As Xiao Bei listened, his face sank. He slowly nodded and said, "I understand. An official, huh? What a powerful official. If that's the case, wouldn't it mean that you've spent more than $100 a day? Alright, I originally planned to let you go, but now I know that if I really let you and your father go, I would be letting down my skin." "What skin? What can you do if you don't let me go?" The big boy was a little afraid of Xiao Bei's solemn and dignified expression, so he asked in a trembling voice. The lackey next to him continued, "Why, can you afford such expensive food?" Xiao Bei shook his head. "We can't afford it because we don't have money. I used to be a county magistrate, and now the county is nominally under my control, but there are too few people. I can't take money from them for my own food and entertainment. If I really did that, I would have to force them to death. So we can't afford the food you said, which costs 20 strings of coins a meal, and we can't afford to stay in your room, which costs 50 strings of coins a night. I can only stay in a free room, which is the room and food that you just said is not open to the public. Because my name is Zhang Xiaobei, and his name is Wang Xiaoyuan. Among the 9 of us, only 2 surnames are Zhang Yong and Wang. We are." When the adults who were helping the children to build snowmen heard Xiao Bei's words, a word naturally appeared in their minds. After counting the number of people, they were even more certain that this was the Tang dynasty's 9-person patrol, who could kill corrupt officials and flick the emperor. The older child still didn't know the identity of the other party, but he felt that the other party was not inferior to him, so he asked, "Who is your father?" "Your father is now the Minister of Works. Let's not talk nonsense. Men, tie up his family's adults and bring them to me." Xiao Bei was really angry. Since the other party bumped into the muzzle of his gun, if he didn't teach them a lesson, wouldn't his position as an official be in vain? The surrounding adults confirmed Xiao Bei's identity once again and mourned for the older child and his family. This time, it was really over. "Mother, is that younger sister very powerful?" a girl asked her mother. "She's not powerful. Girl, don't worry. She won't bully you. If you want, you can build a snowman with her," the mother said to her daughter. The girl still didn't understand. Then how can she get people to catch people? This is the place of the Zhang Yong and Wang family. She can catch people anywhere here, not to mention the Zhang Yong and Wang family. There are bad people here, so she caught them, the mother explained. Oh. Bad people, I understand. The girl nodded vigorously. Since Xiao Bei said to catch people, the guards naturally wouldn't let the three of them go. They rushed over and began to restrict the movements of the three people. Why? Why do you have people catch me? Let me tell you, this is the place of the Zhang Yong and Wang family. I can't deal with you here. Wait until we get out. The older child still didn't know how much trouble he had caused and shouted with all his might. There's no need to get out. I can deal with you here. You actually dared to kick my snowman. If I deal with you, I won't be called Zhang Xiaobei. Kicking my snowman is one thing, but you even dare to talk about your father, an official. I want to see just how powerful your father is. This time, Xiao Bei let out all of his anger. Pan didn't care about these things. She pulled on Xiao Bei's clothes and pointed at the unfinished snowman, saying, "Su Ren, right, I almost forgot. You go catch them first. I'll finish building the snowman first." Little sister Pan, that's called a snowman. Xiao Bei returned to his senses and continued to build the snowman. Su Ren. Pan repeated. All right, who cares what it's called? Let's finish it first. Xiao Bei turned around and continued to build the snowman. This was a big matter. Catching people was just a small matter. When the first snowman was finished and the second snowman was about to be built, the older child's father and a few other attendants were tied up and brought over. The older child's father looked to be in his 40s. When he saw Xiao Bei, he was stunned for a moment before kneeling on the ground. He cried as he explained, "Lord Zhang, I'm innocent. I didn't know that my son had offended you. I'll break his legs later. You're a great person and don't hold a grudge. Please let him go this time." Xiao Bei curled his lips. "Don't talk to me about these useless things. Do you think I'm a child? Don't you know why I caught you? You're making it sound like I'm trying to kill a child. Say it yourself, where did the money come from? Don't wait for me to have someone take you out for torture. Don't expect anyone to protect you. I believe you know the rules. If you offend us, you'll be guilty and punished. Where did you get the money to stay in a room that costs 50 strings of coins per night and eat 20 strings of coins per meal? Tell me the method and I'll go find a government to embezzle some money. I have a feeling that this is faster than our candy house." Xiao Bei already knew the identity of the other party before he was caught. Jiangnan West Road, Yuan Zhou's assassin, Fang Kong, Fang Huaixing. He had brought his son out to play. When he went back and forth, it would definitely exceed the normal holiday time, and not just by a little. Even if they didn't accuse him of embezzlement, they could at least accuse him of leaving his post without permission. Who would believe that? Fang Kong knelt there, trembling. When he was caught, the other party revealed their identity. When he heard that they were from the Zhuang protection team, he knew he was done for. He could even guess who had caused this trouble. It had to be his son. Because of that, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wouldn't come to catch him. His son said that he went to build a snowman. At the place where his son was playing, he must have met Zhang Xiaobao and the others. At that moment, he didn't even feel any regret. He knew the consequences of being caught by Zhang Xiaobao and the others. In Tang, no one could protect him. He didn't even have the opportunity to bribe. Now that he heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he really wanted to say, "You're just a kid. If I don't lie to you, who will I lie to?" But he knew that it was useless to say this. When he looked at his son again, he couldn't wait to rush over and strangle him. What a wastrel! He had provoked them and even sold him out. Speak. Don't wait for me to take measures. Speak frankly. Whether you live or die will be judged by the Ministry of Justice, the Censorate, and the Supreme Court. Of course, you were caught by us. Naturally, you will be severely punished. I believe you understand. Speak now, so that you won't suffer. Xiao Bei had learned a lot of interrogation techniques from Wang Wan. This set of words was actually a copy of the story. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan told stories to their younger siblings, they didn't deliberately say it. Instead, they brought it out naturally. Jun He and Pan He saw that the situation had changed and were a little scared. They squeezed next to Xiao Bei. Only when Xiao Bei hugged them did they feel safe. They blinked their big eyes and looked at Fong Kong in front of them. At this moment, the older child who had his freedom restricted finally knew what kind of person he had provoked. His father had knelt down, but he only knew that these children were powerful. He couldn't figure out the background of the other party. His father was a fourth-rank official. He was in charge of the provincial governor of a province. Why would he be afraid? The surrounding parents thought that it was natural. Damn it, a corrupt official dared to come to Jilin province to play. Even if he gave a fake name and identity, he was still caught. It was true that the net of heaven has wide meshes, but nothing escapes. Fong Kong was very clear that if he really told the truth, even if his family was not destroyed, he would be beheaded. After all, he would die. He couldn't just admit it like this. He shouted, "Lord Zhang, I'm innocent. This official only brought the children out to play. This animal must be talking nonsense. This official admits that I've been away for too long. This official asks Lord Zhang to show mercy on the children's behalf." Xiao Bei was unmoved. When she really wanted to deal with people, it could be said that her heart was as hard as stone. This was because she knew very well that all the people she dealt with were officials. If she let them go, then many people would suffer. It was better for one family to cry than to cry all the way. Most importantly, she had heard too many such things in the stories of her brother and sister. The officials could come up with all kinds of reasons, but no matter which one it was, it couldn't change the nature of the matter. Therefore, Xiao Bei shook her head. "Official Fong, please hurry up. At most, I'll be a good man again after 18 years. Even if my head falls off, it'll just be a scar the size of a bowl. I still want to build a snowman." At this moment, Fong Kong finally understood why Xiao Bei and the others could become Great Tang's patrol inspectors. It could be said that they were impenetrable. However, he didn't want to die. If he confessed, then he would definitely die. "I refuse to accept this. I want to go to His Majesty and sue you. What do you bunch of children know? Official Fong, don't talk nonsense, okay? It's not like you don't know our family's intelligence system. Isn't it easy to investigate you? What are you shouting for? Do you want to get sympathy? Do you think we care about what others think?" Zhang Chang was vexed and said at the side. The other children nodded. It was too easy to distinguish whether it was true or not. They just had to get someone to investigate. "I refuse to accept this. I want to see His Majesty." Your Zhang family and Wang family control the court and deceive His Majesty. I must see His Majesty. Where is the justice? Fong Kong still wanted to resist. Who wants to see us? How did Xiao Bei deceive us? Us want to hear it. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Li Longji also came over with a heavy expression. On the way here, he had already heard the whole story. Xiao Bei had really backed off time and time again because the other party was a child. When Xiao Bei didn't intend to back down, things became troublesome. Thus, a provincial governor was arrested. Li Longji could only sigh. Xiao Bei was too sensible. A provincial governor's son could be so arrogant, but Xiao Bei could endure it. How old were Xiao Bei and the others? How could the provincial governor's son dare to compare to his father? It was clear how his family educated him, and he also knew what kind of people his parents were. When Xiao Bei saw that Li Longji had arrived, she ran over with Jun and Pan Uncle Emperor. Look, he's really annoying, lying with his eyes wide open. I've already checked, they're all living in the most luxurious rooms and eating the most luxurious food. They're just short of eating bear paws and tigers. I've already sent people to investigate his family background. I want to see where he got the money. Also, his son said that he didn't spend his own money when he went out to play. What kind of money is that? Anyone who isn't an idiot would know, right? Jun and Pan were also saying things that weren't clear. They were expressing that they were very angry and wanted to complain. Through Pan-er's words of betrothal, the surrounding people also knew what was going on. The snowman was kicked. Oh, come Pan-er, let father hug you. The snowman was kicked, right? It's fine, father will help you vent your anger. At this time, Li Longji turned into a father. He hugged his daughter and kissed her. Fong Kong still had some hope, but when he saw that the youngest girl was actually the emperor's daughter, he was immediately stunned. The emperor actually spoke like this in front of so many people. While he was stunned, Li Longji didn't care about his identity as the emperor. He rushed over with his daughter and kicked Fong Kong. Who told your son to bully my daughter? I'll let your son bully my daughter. Pan-er smiled happily. Her eyes narrowed into a pair of crescent moons. She hugged her father's neck with one hand and waved the other. Xiao Bei's style was unmistakable. You won't have a bad life when you're sent away. When Fong Kong heard Xiao Bei's words, he rearranged his posture and kowtowed to Xiao Bei. This official thanks Patrol Inspector Zhang. This official's family has been entrusted to Patrol Inspector Zhang. This official will tell you everything. You have to be quick too. News travels very quickly. Xiao Bei nodded solemnly and ordered, guards, protect the provincial governor Fong and his family. Pay attention to the investigation. I'd like to see who can cover the sky with one hand and temporarily block the telecommunication system of Jili province. Immediately, someone took the order and left. At this moment, no news could be sent out, at least not by telegram. Li Longji found that the situation was serious, so he also promised Fong Kong, Xiao Bei's promise is my decision. I also want to see how many local emperors there are in Tang. Li Longji didn't need Fong Kong to say too much. He already knew what he was going to say. It was a big deal that someone in Tang could control the government of a province. But what kind of means did he use to do that was the most important thing. After getting the promise from Xiao Bei and the emperor, Fong Kong finally let out a sigh of relief. If the emperor and the Zhang family couldn't protect him in Tang, he didn't need to think about who could. Especially the Zhang family and the Wang family, whose reaction speed was always so reassuring. The parents around didn't know what to do. They wanted to leave, but the emperor's people were standing at the gate. They didn't want to leave, but they were afraid that they knew too much. Gao Lisher saw it clearly and said to the people around, "Today, His Majesty is interrogating the case in person. You can listen, but don't make a noise. Take care of the children." Chapter 977. When the people around heard that, they were happy. The emperor was interrogating the case personally and they could even listen in. This was something that they might not encounter even once in a lifetime. Therefore, they all quieted down and gathered their children. Then, someone brought a stove over. The several families gathered around the stove to warm themselves while waiting to see what Fong Kong would say. This was a big piece of news. If there was a storyteller, he could even say something like, "The downfall of a provincial governor," or "Yuan Zhou, the same sky, but different face," and so on. Sit. Li Longji sat down first. His chair was naturally different from other people's. He ordered Fong Kong. "This sinner doesn't dare." Fong Kong looked at the stool beside him and continued to kneel there. "Then I'll let someone else interrogate you. What if you melt the snow? Can the children still make a snowman?" Li Longji was still in the mood to joke. When he said that, Pan remembered that the snowman was not finished yet. She pulled Xiao Bei's clothes again and said, "Su Ren, tu Su Ren. Good. You want to make a snowman, right? Make one now. Now, no one will disturb us. We can't even make a snowman secretly. You have to force me to reveal my identity. Do you think it's easy for me?" If Xiao Bei did not go to Fong Kong, how would he be interrogated? He pulled Pan and walked toward the snowman that was still a little bit away from completion. No one disturbed her. Moreover, everyone stopped what they were doing. Who dared to continue making a snowman in front of the emperor? In the entire Tang dynasty, only she dared to do so. If Li Longji was not busy, she would even ask Li Longji what the snowman was and ask him for advice. As a result, in this solemn occasion, the 11 children were busy. Laughter could be heard from time to time. Fong Kong finally sat down. He lowered his head and told the story in detail. Someone beside him was in charge of recording. Fong Kong said that he rose from the county magistrate step by step. He rose from the 7th rank to the 4th rank in 15 years and became the provincial governor of a province, the provincial governor of Yuanzhou. But when he sat in this position, he found that he could not smoothly pass down his orders. He was either dissuaded by the departments or told by the county officials that it was difficult. As a result, he did nothing as the provincial governor for the past year. All he did was deal with trivial matters. It was impossible for him to carry out policies that benefited the people. Furthermore, he had also taken on a lot of responsibilities for his subordinates. Last year, he had actually failed to pass the evaluation. If this were to happen again this year, his official position would be over. Just as he was feeling frustrated, an opportunity came. Someone came to him and said that they could help him get some political credits. What he had to do was very simple. He just had to admit that a residential area was going to be built with the support of the state government. It was so simple, and this part of the house was not only for living, but there was also a lake in the middle for people to play in. There were also other auxiliary facilities, such as a supermarket, a hospital, a school, and so on. This achievement seemed to come too quickly, so fast that Fong Kong couldn't believe it. However, when he asked about the other party's identity, he couldn't help but believe it, because the other party's surname was Wan. This surname was nothing, but what was truly awe-inspiring was that this person was ranked 77th on the top ranking list of billionaires. Fong Kong understood very well that those who could enter this ranking list were all amazing people. In reality, no one was poor, and they could easily take out hundreds of thousands of strings of cash. Although the most amazing person in the world was not on this ranking list, but outside of it, it was impossible for that person to come personally to help a small provincial governor like him. Just like that, Fong Kong's heart was filled with anticipation and uneasiness, and he chose to believe the other party for the time being. He wanted the other party to give him something concrete, such as money or a detailed plan. He didn't have to wait too long. After the spring of this year, when the spring plowing had just ended, and when there was a lot of free time, the other party found people from Jingjing Construction Group and started to build the houses on that piece of land. He went to take a look and stayed there for a few days. After confirming that Jingjing Construction Group was real, he felt even more relieved. Thus, he listened to the person surnamed Wan and sent an order to the provincial governor, saying that this group of buildings was jointly developed by the government and Jingjing Construction Group, and that the people could live there. When summer came, because it was only a one-story house, the work was done quickly. Jingjing Construction Group finished building the outermost circle of houses on the land, and the quality was not to be questioned. Jingjing Construction Group even gave them a matching drainage system, and according to the plan, they built a methane pool for every 10 houses. Just as Fong Kong was feeling happy, the people from Jingjing Construction Group left, leaving a large area in the middle without houses, and even more so beside the lake. Why did they leave when they weren't done yet? It was a political achievement project, and he was counting on it to make his evaluation reach good this winter. If they left, wouldn't he be good, and could only go down? He could only look for the businessman surnamed Wan and ask him what was going on. The other party calmly said that the flow of funds was inconvenient, so it was temporarily impossible. He would wait until tomorrow, and he would definitely be able to provide the money next year. The Wan guy could wait, but he couldn't. He didn't know where he would be next year, so he could only treat the other party to a meal and confide in him about his difficulties. When the Wan guy heard this, he was also worried, but he also helplessly said that he really couldn't take out the money. After a few more meals, the other party finally helped him think of a way. The money couldn't be taken out for the time being, but they could find other ways to borrow money, such as the Great Tang Bank. Fong Kong went to help with this matter, and the result was needless to say. The Great Tang Bank sent people to look at it, and after looking at it, they said that it was impossible. This project was not profitable, and if they really gave a loan, the bank would leave behind unsold houses and not do it. The Great Tang Bank was not expensive, and the local government was not in charge. If they said that they couldn't take out the money, then they definitely wouldn't. Fong Kong was worried again. Just as he was worried for 2 days, the Wan guy came again, and he looked very happy. He said that there was another way, and that was to borrow money from the people. Although the interest was higher, he could still lend it out. Then lend it, hurry up and go, Fong Kong urged at that time. However, the Wan guy said that he couldn't lend it out, because he couldn't even pay the monthly interest. What if he lent it out? His property had already been mortgaged to the bank, and the money could be used for other things. Fong Kong was angry. Since you can't lend it out, why are you so happy? Just as he was about to question him, the Wan guy said again, and this time, he said a very good idea. Since the people couldn't lend it out directly, they could change it a little. Yuanzhou had a large forest under the control of the government, and the government couldn't use such property to borrow money from the bank. But if it became a person's property, the bank would pay for it as a mortgage. Therefore, they changed the idea slightly. First, the government issued a certificate of sale, saying that the forest belonged to a person, and this person would be the person who borrowed money from the people. He could use the forest to borrow money from the bank, and then take out the money. Part of it would be used to continue the construction of the land, and the other part would be used to continue borrowing money from the people. This way, they wouldn't have to pay him or the bank any interest. The bank's interest would be paid by the person who borrowed money from the people, and the rest of the money would be lent out. If he earned a lot, he could even take out a part of the money to help the government repair the houses, buy some office supplies, and provide benefits for the people and the government. Fong Kong understood the other party's meaning. The so-called benefits were money, and he should be able to get the majority of it. After thinking about it again, he gritted his teeth and gave up the large area of mountains and forests. He didn't take a single copper coin from them. He only needed to wait for the land to be completed before he bought it back. With this clause in the contract, everything seemed to be perfect. They were very impressed with the Wan guy for being able to use such a method. And then, the Wan guy didn't build the houses, but followed the person who borrowed money from the people. Li Longji asked when he heard this. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. So this was actually possible? The Monopoly ranking list was indeed extraordinary. He had played a lot of tricks in the beginning and left with the money in the end. Impressive. While everyone was admiring, a woman's voice rang out from not far away, "That's impossible." If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to enter the Monopoly ranking list. Everyone looked over and saw a man and a woman. They were very young, and the woman was beautiful while the man was handsome. When they stood together, they looked like a golden couple. The man seemed to be still sleeping and was yawning. "Cuckoo, why are the two of you here? Aren't you going to sleep?" Li Longji asked when he saw the two of them. "I've slept for more than 2 hours, so I can't sleep anymore. I'll sleep for a while after lunch. Otherwise, I'll be awake at night. This one guy's calculations are pretty good." Wang Wan rubbed her face with her hand and yawned as well. She asked Fong Kong, did he start building that place again, but not with Xingjing construction? Fong Kong nodded vigorously, yes, Lord Wang is right. He found a group of people to work on the houses, but they weren't from Xingjing construction. When I asked him, he said that Xingjing construction couldn't find the time at the moment and had to deal with it first. Otherwise, when Xingjing construction came, it would be next year before they finished building the houses. That's right. In the end, he finished building the houses very quickly. Then, he realized that no one was willing to move in, so he asked you to make a compulsory order. He said that if the officials guaranteed that they would live a better life, so you did. In the end, you received a large sum of money, right? Wang Wan asked again. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have any intention to speak. This case was too classic, so classic that he didn't want to play with it. At that time, the officials had already learned to be smart. If they wanted to use this to cheat money, they would die of exhaustion. Yes, Fong Kong continued nodding. He sold the land for a very high price, then took the money and ran away. My mountain and forest belonged to the private bank. When the people realized that the quality of the houses they lived in wasn't good, they said that the officials lied to them and that it wasn't built by Xingjing construction. Just as I was fretting, the people from the various departments criticized me and said that they would help me think of a solution. They told me to come out and take a stroll so that the angry commoners wouldn't destroy the yamen. I listened to them and came out with money. Some of the money in the yamen was given by that one guy. After Wang Wan heard this, she sighed and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Why are you looking at me? It's not like I cheated. My methods are too bad. Why would I use such a method? That's scolding me. The private bank can't return the land. These are two different things. The private bank followed the normal procedures. There was no mistake in the review process, so naturally, the money should be released. Zhang Xiaobao thought that Wang Wan was blaming him and hurriedly tried to avoid it. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying that liars really cheat people. It's impossible for all the officials to be smarter than the liars. It's normal to be cheated. Don't the officials want some political achievements? How difficult is it? Wang Wan continued. Zhang Xiaobao continued to refute. He knew that Wang Wan was talking about him. Back then, his methods of deception were even more subtle and incisive. You can't say that. First of all, Fong Kong cares too much about his official position. He's afraid that he'll fall from the position of provincial governor. Second of all, he was not capable enough. He was actually taken over by his subordinates. What's the point of being an official? If it were me, I would have gotten a rope and found a good place. Of course, the local officials of Yuanzhou were even more foolish. In order to send Fong Kong away so that they could have more time to continue doing bad things and then push all the blame to Fong Kong, they couldn't have sent him to Jili province. Don't you know that we are in Jili province? The probability of being discovered will increase. Look, as expected, he was caught by Xiao Bei. Now, no one can escape. Let's all be unlucky together. As for that guy surnamed Wan, I have to check whether he is a fake. Maybe he is not in the ranking list, or maybe his position is higher on the ranking list and he is just using someone else's name. His childish actions were a provocation to me. Look at how capable he is. He knows how to deceive others, and he even played many tricks that he thinks are amazing. There's no need to talk about me. Let's just talk about someone with your intelligence. What's wrong with my IQ? Is it lower than yours? Wang Wan couldn't accept it. You're wrong. I'm not talking about IQ. You're better than me, okay? I'm talking about experience. Yes, experience. With your experience, if you want to cheat money, you're better than him. Zhang Xiaobao immediately changed his words. Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and stopped asking about IQ. She asked, then what should we do? Li Longji also looked over and waited for Zhang Xiaobao to say something. What should we do? Do what you need to do. Investigate Fong Kong. Don't let any of his subordinates go. Also, don't forget about that person who borrowed money. After all, he has signed the contract. If he runs away, we will issue a warrant for his arrest, Zhang Xiaobao said. What about that swindler surnamed Wan? Wang Wan asked. What evidence do you have to prove that he cheated? Is there a contract? If there is, he didn't follow the contract. Then he cheated and we have to catch him. If there isn't, we can only say that he bribed people. Similarly, we have to find evidence for bribing people. Zhang Xiaobao spread his hands. Fong Kong admired Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan from the bottom of his heart. Look at them, they could guess the ending just by listening to the beginning. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao talking about evidence, he interrupted. No, there is no evidence. Even if he bribed people, there is no evidence because he didn't give the money to us directly. Instead, he said that he would give it to the government for public welfare. However, he didn't ask for the receipt, and we didn't give it to him because we knew what was going on with the money. See? The matter is very simple. He didn't cheat or bribe people. Otherwise, show us the evidence. Zhang Xiaobao's words sounded like sarcasm. Then what should we do? We can't let him get away with it, right? Wang Wan asked again. There's nothing we can do. If he can cheat, that's his ability. Unless he cheats again and someone catches him, we can't convict him. Of course, you can find him, tie him up, and interrogate him. He might admit to all kinds of crimes if you really want to start with this. Forget it. If we start with this, there will be a lot of false and wrongful cases. I'll listen to you. Forget it. As for how the imperial court will do it, we don't have to care. Wang Wan said helplessly. When the people around heard this, they also couldn't think of any good ideas. If there was someone to blame, it was Fong Kong. He didn't have the ability, and in the end, he lost the land and the manor and even harmed the people. Hearing his words, they felt pity for him, but also felt that he was even more hateful. Xiao Bei, who was building a snowman, also heard her brother and sister's words. She turned around to take a look, then turned back to continue building. She didn't believe that her brother would let that person go. She just didn't want to alert the enemy. Li Longji waved his hand, handed over to the Supreme Court. Arrest all the officials of the province. Don't let a single one of them go. Xiao Bao, come with me. Fong Kong was taken away. Someone would help send his son back to his home, and at the same time, give him protection. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan followed Li Longji to the dining hall, intending to find a quiet place to talk. The others were busy again. Each of them felt that they didn't waste their money. Not only did they see the emperor, but they also listened to an extremely mysterious case. Before coming here, they didn't even dare to think that they would have such a fortuitous encounter. Xiao Bei and the others began to build the second snowman. The first one was already done. It was very beautiful and exquisite. It even wore a red scarf and a small cap. Its big eyes seemed to be able to speak because of Xiao Zhu's drawing. Although they had only captured one of them, there were still some bold ones. A little girl about Xiao Bei's age ran over from afar. She circled the first snowman twice before she moved closer to Xiao Bei and said, "You're so amazing. Even the officials are afraid of you. You're even better at building snowmen. Can you help me make one? Why don't you bring me along? I won't cause any trouble. Really, if you don't believe me, pinky promise." Xiao Bei agreed readily. She brought another person along to play and even pinky promise. She was like a completely different person compared to when she was talking to Fong Kong. In the end, more children ran over and joined in building snowmen. This was especially true for the dozen children who came from Luzhou. They surrounded Xiao Bei and the others and kept talking. At this moment, Li Longji and Zhang Xiaobao found a small room and sat down. Zhang Xiaobao ordered 2 bowls of hot soup and drank with Wang Wan. After they finished half a bowl of soup, they stopped to rest. Li Longji said, "Xiaobao, how should we deal with that one guy? We still don't know what his surname is. Let's find him first. A person like him will definitely do it a second time. When he sees that nobody is condemning him, he will continue to look for opportunities to make his move. I'll wait for him to make his move. If I can't make him bankrupt, I'll write Zhang upside down." Zhang Xiaobao placed his hands on the bowl as he spoke. Wang Wan chimed in, "That's right. If we don't deal with him, more people will be willing to take the risk. Who in Great Tang dares to be a swindler? We'll spoil them." Li Longji liked to see how confident Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were. He agreed, "I have the same intention as well." What about the people who were forced to buy houses under Yuan Zhou's coercion? Since they bought the houses, they can just stay there. It's not like they lost anything. It's just that the quality of the houses is slightly lacking. They just need to be renovated and strengthened. If anyone doesn't want the houses, I'm willing to add 5% to the original price. Zhang Xiaobao said nonchalantly. "Xiaobao, if you can add 5% to the purchase price, I'm willing to add 10%. I believe in you. I reckon the property prices there will rise greatly after they find out that you're interested in purchasing them." Li Longji said with a smile, "You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.